I hit the call button on my freaking earbuds again right before I was going live. Sorry about the long intro there. Hopefully it's working okay. Oh, that gets so frustrating when I do that. Hey, Phantom Kitty Coat. How you doing today? This afternoon, this evening? There was a video that just came out like just a second ago as I was going live. Roommates of the slain Idaho students break their silence, so I'm just gonna go ahead and dive right into that. Give me 1 second here, and then I'll get to all the emails and stuff. I know I've got a bunch. Let me see here, but we got a lot of videos to go over, and then we'll. I got it set up with Hulu so I can watch the News Nation live, the report, and then after the report, then I'll go ahead and end it for the evening. So go ahead and get into everything first, and end it with that News Nation special. So hopefully I can use Hulu to stream it live. That'll be cool. Hey TS, how you doing today? Give me 1 second. I gotta get everything loaded up on here. I figured I'd get on here a little early tonight. That way we can get everything before that News Nation special. I can't wait. Oh my gosh, I'm so out of it here. And I'll get to chat here in a second. Thank you, thank you. I appreciate everybody being in here. I know I'm a little bit early, but I wanted to make sure we get everything knocked out before this special tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and start it off with this News Nation video. And I figure I'll go like this from now on. It kind of makes the screen a little bit bigger for you guys. Go ahead and like that, and let me turn down the music, and then we'll dive right in. And I'm jealous, Kelt. I wish I could be at Dave & Buster's. All right, let me turn the music down a little bit. And actually, I want to go through the chat real quick just to make sure I don't. Let's see here. Oh, I wish I was at Dave & Buster's. Happy birthday, by the way, Kelt. Okay. Roommates. Is this the article you sent me, Kelt? The video I'm about to use? Welcome. I always like your little intros for everybody, Kelt. I really appreciate you doing that. Gotta have the cheers, Phantom. And I'm feeling okay. I'm feeling better, Kid Kitty. Thank you for asking. Popcorn and cocktails. It's that popcorn. You gotta have that popcorn. Gotta go drive now. Okay, we'll be safe. And again, happy birthday, B-Day, whatever. Yes, safe driving, please. Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and get this going.
We do want to turn now to the latest in the quadruple murder investigation in Idaho. 3 weeks after the gruesome killings, and investigators still have very few answers. But as the search for a suspect continues, we are finally hearing from the two surviving roommates who were inside of that house on the night that the 4 University of Idaho students were stabbed. Correspondent Alex Capriello live for us in Moscow. And Alex, what is the latest from police tonight, and what did the roommates have to say?
Natasha, good evening to you. It's been a quiet day today here in Moscow. The police have said they're not going to be releasing any more information unless it's been thoroughly vetted and it won't harm this ongoing investigation, which of course is really tough news for the families of these 4 victims who are searching for.
Yeah, I heard they were speaking out today too. We'll get to those also. For the very
first time, we're hearing from the victims' surviving roommates who were there that night.
For the very first time, we're hearing from the 2 roommates who survived that deadly night exactly 3 weeks ago. Bethany Funk and Dylan Mortensen wrote heartfelt statements about their friends, which a youth pastor read publicly and shared with the world. One of those surviving roommates, Mortensen, wrote, "I know somewhere Xana and Ethan are together, keeping each other company, watching us and telling us it's okay and that we have each other. Maddie and Kaylee, the inseparable duo, the 2 best friends that were like sisters." Over the weekend, investigators could be seen re-entering the crime scene. Through the window, we watched as they handled evidence markers. Later, they left the home carrying large brown paper bags. And still, there are no suspects and no persons of interest. In an interview with News Nation's Brian Nenton, the family of Haley Gonsalves say it feels as if the police rushed to clear names from their suspect list.
I just feel like there's been a couple individuals that were cleared very fast. That may not, maybe he should not have been.
The police on Saturday dispelled circulating rumors of potential suspects. That includes the 2 surviving roommates, a man caught on camera close to the girls that night at a food truck, a rideshare driver, and an ex-boyfriend.
And Natasha, one of the issues that these families tell News Nation is that the police just haven't been very forthcoming about the alibis of these people that were once perhaps listed as people that they might want to pay attention to, but have been cleared right now by law enforcement. So that really leaves these families to really wonder and speculate about the level of due diligence that's going on with this very quiet investigation.
Okay, well, I thought there'd be more to that. Let me see if this is an article here from Cal site. Let's see here, Daily Mail. Okay. I wish I could give them one last hug. The 2 survivors of Idaho murder house speak out for first time in a heartbreaking statement read by church pastor. As clueless cops reveal they still have no suspects. They were delivered at a gathering over the weekend held to memorialize the 4 college students. I had been sleeping on the first floor. Okay. I mean, they've gone through enough. I don't know why they gotta keep putting out their pictures and stuff. Come on. Wish I could. Day that I could give them one last hug. Okay. She went on to recall Goncalves' sense of humor in particular, as well as her unstoppable will to succeed. See, I don't know why that video didn't go through this. Thank you, ATS. There's a, whoa, okay. Oh my gosh, the pop-ups. I wish, okay, we heard that. Then it says, you always told me that everything happens for a reason, but I'm having a really hard time trying to understand the reason for this. I don't know why the video didn't go more into this. She went on to recall Goncalves' sense of humor in particular, as well as her unstoppable will to succeed. She added of Chapin, who did not live with the group, but had been their close friend, had a bright personality that left an impression on everyone he met, best showed by love for Knuddle. The way you loved her was truly admirable and so special. It made people believe in true love. Funk, who was unharmed in the massacre, recalled Funk then offered a stirring tribute to Knuddle, who she called the life of the party, with a boisterous personality that drew everyone toward her, including the parents of her fellow housemates. There really wasn't one person that didn't love you and your amazing personality, she wrote, joking about the 20-year-old had all the mom's phone numbers, a sentiment that was later repeated in fellow survivor Mortenson's remembrance. Funk would then characterize the final victim, Mogan, as the older sister she had always wanted, writing of the 21-year-old, I always looked up to you so much. She continued, you were always so organized, determined, and had your priorities straight, and you always gave me the best advice. Mortenson would echo those sentiments in her statement, describing to mourners how she remembered Chapin and Knuddle as the perfect duo. They both had this fun, passionate, crazy, but good energy. They were both the kind of people who cared about everyone and would help anyone. They had this unstoppable, loving relationship. They both would look at each other with so much love. Everyone knew they were the perfect duo. Then went on to describe Mogan and Goncalves' inseparable, saying the pair had been like second moms as well as sisters. They taught me a lot about how to be a responsible adult and also how to live life happy. They changed the way I look at life and how to enjoy life to the fullest. Funk added in her statement that 4 had all been gifts to this world. in your own special way and will never be forgotten and will forever be in our hearts. Wow. Why didn't News Nation videos say that stuff? Wow, that hit you in the heart. I wonder why. Police presence remains high at quadruple. Okay, we already know this stuff. Ooh, that's a good picture right there. Oh, there's a lot of good pictures on here. Thank you, Kelt. Yeah, that I'm glad I didn't just watch the video and not check this link out way more in depth, Kelt. Thank you. Wow, that hit you in the heart. I don't know why News Nation didn't go into more of that. I'm surprised. Okay. Yeah, it was a very good article. Man. Such amazing words. Very well written. Okay, we got a new video out from News Nation here. I'm sure it's nothing new. I hope it works with Hulu tonight, where I can watch it live. Yeah, agree.
Joining us now, News Nation senior national correspondent Brian Entin, who has also been out in Idaho covering this story for us closely. Brian, as we just saw a moment ago, you've been speaking with the victims' families on the ground there. Can you tell us a little about how they feel the investigation is being handled?
Hey, Jen, how
Look,
you
I
doing
think they're
this
starting
evening?
to get frustrated, Natasha, with the investigation. They want to have faith in the police. They know they're working hard and basically around the clock, but at the same time, there just haven't been any significant developments now.
So they're
in
back?
weeks. It's now 3 weeks
Or
out.
is that the
and there's
private
still
security?
No known suspect, no known person of interest. And you heard from Alex's report with Kaylee's family. They're concerned about why some of these people that surround the roommates are being cleared. They want to know what the alibis are. Police aren't telling them the specific alibis. They say at this point they deserve more information from the investigators.
What
And it is
a
one thing for
letter.
us to say the small town of Moscow has been rocked by this tragedy. What is your sense? What is the overall feeling
Amazing
there
words
as you've been
written.
speaking with
Wow.
members of the community? Are people
Perfect
there
way.
concerned and scared with an unknown suspect still being on the loose?
Just peachy.
Absolutely. It's almost like there's a cloud over this town. People are nervous, especially on the college campus.
Well,
some
yeah,
students didn't come
there's
back.
no
They've
freaking
switched to online
profile.
learning because they're just too nervous to be
They don't
here.
even know who to look
Others,
for.
they walk around in pairs, in groups. They don't want to be alone. Some people have put extra locks on their doors. There are students that will not go out after dark. They really feel like this killer could be among them, Natasha.
And we know a little
That's
later
not fair
tonight
to the
you're going to be
students.
providing a special report on the latest in this investigation. What can we expect?
Yeah, we've been working hard on this all week long. It's going to be an hour long. It's going to take you
So
through
not fair.
everything we know from the beginning to end.
They've already been
Everything
through
we've learned
enough.
with the investigation, even some new pieces of information that we have just confirmed today. We're going to break those on the special. It's coming up tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern.
Thank you for watching. Go to News.
Yep, hopefully the Hulu works for that. I got it all set up, ready to go. I'm just fingers crossed. Man, them poor students. Yeah, what was this massive power outage? And we just watched that, so I know I'm good on my videos. Hey, what's up, Song C?
Massive
Tennis-
power outage, leaving 40,000 residents in
Aw.
the dark. At a press conference
Look at
earlier
that.
today, police confirming it was gunfire that sparked the widespread electricity problems. Now we are hearing the FBI is involved. News Nation's Ryan Bass is joining us live now with the details. Ryan, what else do we know right now?
What is this?
Well, right now, Natasha, we know that there is a state of emergency in effect for Moore County right now. That's about an hour and 15 minutes southwest of Raleigh, just to kind of give you an
gunfire?
idea of where this is. There were about 45,000 people in central North Carolina without power today. And part of the state obviously is still struggling with this. Investigators are calling this
Hopefully
a targeted
Melmac's
attack
okay.
today with this power outage that's happening in central North Carolina. The FBI is also involved, as you mentioned, Natasha. And I want to give you an
The
idea by showing you a
FBI?
map of where the majority of these power outages are right now. Here's a map of the outages from Duke Energy. Look at how many
12K,
people are
2K.
impacted throughout Moore County. So they've got about 47,000 Duke Energy customers in that county. Around 80% of customers there are in the dark right now.
Oh my
Officials say there are
gosh.
millions
What's the
of
temperature?
dollars in damage to equipment that was caused by gunfire, which impacted the electrical grid and caused the outages. Moore County Sheriff Ronnie Fields said that the power
gunfire.
outages began shortly after 7 p.m. last night and spread today.
Folks, we're living in some challenging times. Challenging times that I never thought in my 40 years in law enforcement we would be seeing things and dealing with folks that are dealing with things that we're dealing with. Unfortunately,
What?
we have formed a plan for the night and the next few nights that that we may be out of power.
What's the temperature there?
And that plan includes a county-wide curfew that begins at 9 p.m. Eastern tonight and lasts until 5 a.m. in the morning. Also closing all schools tomorrow for students and staff as well, just to make sure that they are safe. Now, North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper has
What?
been in
An
contact with
attack
both
like
Duke Energy and officials there in
An attack like this on critical infrastructure is a serious intentional crime, and I expect state and federal authorities to thoroughly investigate and bring those responsible to justice. What? Substations damaged by gunfire sparks massive outage. So somebody literally went to different substations and shot a weapon at them? What the fuck? Does anybody know about this stuff?
Moore County as well. He tweeted this just a little bit ago. An attack like this on critical infrastructure is a serious, intentional crime, and I expect state and federal authorities to thoroughly investigate and bring those responsible to justice. Now, Natasha, officials said it could
When
take
was
days
this?
for the power to be
25
restored
minutes
as late as Thursday in some parts of
Thursday.
Moore County to get everyone back up and
Oh,
running.
I
and
hope
obviously
Melmac's okay.
have power back in that area. They did say some of the damage there is irreplaceable, so they're going to actually have to go in and put
Irreplaceable.
in new systems and equipment to fix that electrical grid.
A
Police say they
substation?
don't know who did this, or
That's
they're
a
not
lot of
really
crap.
saying who did this, and they don't have a motive at this time. But of course, Natasha, they are still investigating. You just feel for a lot of the people in that area. It
What?
is freezing cold temperatures in that part of the state, and they're going to
Freezing
be without
cold
power.
temperatures in
Absolutely.
that part
Feel
of
for them.
I thought North Carolina was freaking warm. I hope Alex is okay too. Holy crap.
And certainly
What
a
the
mystery
hell?
as well. Ryan Bass, appreciate the latest information. Thank you for that.
I don't
live
know. This
report.
was
Thank
this was from 25 minutes ago. Holy crap. I don't know. It just popped up, and we just got Jen. We just got done reading what the roommates said at the memorial for the 4 students, the 2 survivors. They had written a letter for somebody to say at the memorial, and what a letter that was written. Just reading it hits you in the heart. Such beautiful words, like, yes, such beautiful words to be written about people. Like, if, wow, it's amazing. Has temps the same, that's crazy, 50. Yeah, I guess that part of North Carolina, where's it at? Has freezing temps. Is it snowing? Hold on, let me look.
9 p.m. Eastern tonight and lasts.
No, it's not snowing there, but everybody's bundled up. Where's the... It showed a map. There it is. So wherever these cities are, I don't know. Wherever these cities are. It says that They're in freezing cold temperatures right now. All right, let me see if Brian Enton has anything updated on his Twitter here. Wow, that was crazy. Like somebody actually like went there and shot up different substations. Getting ready. Okay, well. He says his internet's crappy there. That ain't no lie. Look at that.
Hey everybody, I just wanted to get on here.
Oh,
say
he's
hi.
freezing
I haven't
cold.
Had much time to do much tweeting or live stream today. Just because we've been getting ready for the special all day. I hope you guys can check it
Elements,
out
man.
on News Nation, 9 o'clock Eastern. It's
We're
pretty
gonna try
quiet out
Hulu,
here.
buddy.
I'm outside the house. There hasn't really been any significant activity at the house today. Photographer Mo has been out here most of the day, and there haven't been any detectives coming or going that we saw.
I can imagine how cold it is up there. Ooh.
No, I'm not sick. I've just been like stuffy nose. Just I think from the cold.
Yeah, it's got, oh my gosh. I can't imagine. I'm shivering right now just thinking about it.
I'm just reading your comments. So, we've been working really, really hard on this special.
Can't wait.
Sorry, 1 second. No, I'm not in this hour.
What the heck?
Sorry about that. I got distracted. So the special at 9 o'clock Eastern, a lot of work we've been doing on it all week, like a really in-depth timeline, pretty much everything we've learned since we've been here.
What?
All right, you guys, apparently I'm in News Nation right now and I didn't know it. So I'm going to get off the live stream, but I'll be back. But check out the special 9 o'clock Eastern. All right, I'll talk to you in a few.
What the heck? That was weird. Okay, what about this?
A desperate search for a killer.
There's a lot more investigating to do.
Senior correspondent Brian Enton is live in Moscow, Idaho for a News Nation special report, Idaho Murder Mystery.
Yeah.
This Sunday, 9, 8 Central, only on News Nation. A community on edge.
These families are grieving.
A desperate search for a killer.
There's a lot more investigating to do.
Senior correspondent Brian Enton.
Okay, so that's just them leaving. Okay. So we'll go back to the sub list here. Let me see. 20 hours ago. All right, we do have some parents' interviews here. Okay. So we do have a crime talk. I'm going to go ahead and check out that crime talk real quick. See what he has to say. And we'll go to some of these parents' interviews here.
It's the weekend update. So we have put all the top stories throughout the week conveniently located in one video for you. I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Crime Talk. The student investigation. What you need to know. All right, the stabbing murders of 4 friends from the University of Idaho while they slept has obviously sent shockwaves throughout not only that small college town in Idaho, but the rest of the country. Now, after partying at separate locations, all of the under 22 victims were killed at their off-campus home in the dead of night in a motiveless slaying. Now, local police and the FBI have examined thousands of pieces of evidence and hundreds of tips. But 2 weeks after the deaths haven't announced a suspect or located the murder weapon. And with a killer on the loose, many students have declined to return to the university for the final week of the semester. And the father of one of the victims says that he's, well, a little frustrated by the police's response in this particular case. So what do we know so far that we can actually say that we know? Not speculation, all right? So Kaylee Goncalves, she graduated from Lake City High School in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho in 2019 and attended the University of Idaho. She has been to high school with another victim, Madison Mogan, who was her best friend. Now, Goncalves shared a photo with her roommate hours before her murder, writing, "One lucky girl to be surrounded by these people." Now, Goncalves was studying in the College of Letters of Arts and Sciences and was majoring in general studies. Then we have Madison Mogan. She was 21. She apparently worked multiple, but he didn't answer because he was asleep. Now, police have ruled out Decour as a suspect. Now, the 4 murdered students were found on the 2nd and 3rd floor of their home, but the 2 roommates living on the ground floor, Bethany Funk and Dylan Mortensen, were spared. It's unclear why the 2 roommates were not harmed and if they slept through the attacks. Funk and Mortensen had been out that night and arrived home just after 1 a.m., the morning of the murder. Now, the first Dylan and Bethany knew of their roommate's fate came after about 11 a.m. when they woke up and went upstairs to find them dead. Neither had spoken publicly about the murders, but have showed off matching tattoos to commemorate their fallen friends. It has also emerged that murdered roommates Kaylee's dog, Murphy, was at the house when the police responded about midday. However, authorities have not confirmed if they believe the dog was in the house at the time of the homicides. And police have yet to locate a murder weapon, as we noted.
Well, it'd be pretty obvious
they
if
are
the
believed
dog
to be seeking
was.
a fixed blade knife, possibly a
The
K-bar
dog has
style
really light
combat knife.
fur.
I can show you a picture of one of those. Now, the Moscow building supply general manager, a guy by the name of Scott Judas, has said that police officers stopped by the retailer a few times in the week following the murders to ask if they had sold any knives of that type. They didn't sell that particular K-bar style knife. Now, police have noted that they have processed more than 1,000 tips, collected 103 pieces of evidence, conducted almost 100 interviews,
I doubt they're going to go to the local store and get the knife.
and taken
I mean,
more than 4,000 photographs of the crime scene. Now, police
It's probably
maintain that
something
the
they've
murders
used
were
for
a
quite a
targeted
while.
attack, but admitted they are still no closer to identifying the murderer today than they were the morning of the murders. Police, like I said, have admitted there's no suspects and they have not recovered a weapon. Police say that they are not releasing a profile that they're developing of the suspect because it could lead to more fear and suspicion in the college town, which is already on edge following the homicides, with some students not returning to finish classes in person. It's been suggested that the killer likely
wouldn't.
entered the 2,300 square foot home between
Do my
3
shit
and 6
remote.
a.m. through a sliding door and made their way through 3 bedrooms, carrying out their knife killings, something that's very up close and personal when it comes with a knife. Now, Goncalves and Mogan were killed on the 3rd floor, while Chapin and Kernodle were killed in a bed they shared on the 2nd floor. None of the victims showed any signs of any sort of sexual assault, and that's according to the police reports. And as we've noted, no motive yet is identified for why the murders took place. So the police don't know who's responsible for the killings, but they have ruled out a slew of suspects, including Goncalves' ex-boyfriend, Mr. Decour, the man seen with Goncalves and Mogan at the food truck, the person who drove the 2 girls home, the surviving 2 roommates, Mortensen and Funk, and the victims themselves, as there is no evidence of a murder-suicide, and the friends summoned to the house by the surviving roommates on the morning of November 13th. Now, rumors have circulated that Goncalves had said that she had a stalker, but police have been unable to substantiate that claim. And police have taken a little bit of heat for their lack of development of leads in this particular case. They've also waffled on their communication to the public,
come
first
on.
saying they didn't believe there's an ongoing community risk.
Right.
even though they kind of walked that statement back a little bit, because obviously the community is at risk because somebody committed 4 homicides and they haven't been apprehended. I would say
From
that's
the
a risk.
get-go.
Police also said that they don't know if the murderer fled or is hiding in plain sight there in Moscow, Idaho. Now, police say that they have now mostly finished investigating the crime scene and that they have plans to release the scene back to the owner of the property, but noted that it won't be released until the police are positive that there is nothing left to retrieve from the crime scene. That's right. They have to collect things of evidentiary value. And sometimes collecting nothing is something of evidentiary value. I know.
Huh?
Yes. Particularly for the defense in this particular case. Now, most of the police work is being done behind the scenes, specifically the crime lab testing that's taking place. Now, police have done 150 interviews, they've stated, and the information that is being received is building what they believe to be the whole picture. Obviously, since they don't have a suspect at this time and they don't have a weapon or an eyewitness, it's a little difficult to figure out exactly what happened. So, since the police don't have that witness, they have to try and build what they believe is the picture of what occurred on the night. They have to look at the relationships of the 4 victims. Was there anything suspicious in any of those relationships? Are there any tidbits of information that they can draw from that and try to develop something of evidentiary value that could provide a suspect or some motive as to the killings?
Boy.
They're going to have to look and see if was there anything that occurred that particular evening, or was it something that had been brewing for a while? And obviously
I'm glad the FBI is involved.
Movements of the residents themselves. So that means basically everyone is a suspect until they are not a suspect. Now, remember, many of the students were allowed to finish their classes and not return. So if the alleged perpetrator was a student, what a great way to stay away. If the perpetrator lives in the area, literally hiding in plain sight, unless there is some physical evidence or some sort of statement or admission made to somebody, I would think that that suspect, that potential suspect, the perpetrator, is probably feeling pretty comfortable right about now. We'll keep you updated on any new developments.
Kind of like Richard Allen.
Next on the
Thank
docket,
you, ATS.
the Delphi probable cause affidavit has been released.
Yeah, comfortable like
One
Richard
word
Allen
to
was,
describe
'cause
it.
He wasn't getting questioned.
Weak. Now, I urge you to go watch our live show last night. We'll put a little link here. It was an hour. We read through it line by line, paragraph by paragraph, and outlined some of the issues with the case. It's weak. It may be enough to get somebody arrested, but if that's all they got, that is not proof beyond a reasonable doubt, ladies and gentlemen.
That's what I'm fearing.
Please, Mr.
And this
Prosecutor
lawyer
in the Delphi
that he's
case,
got,
please tell me you have some more evidence. All right. We'll give you the quick.
That's concerning when he's saying that. That's very concerning, because then you mix what RA's lawyer's been able to do in other cases. Plus, he even says the bullet isn't even that strong for a conviction. Like, the marks that the bullet left is not that strong of evidence. And that's very concerning if he's saying this, because with what Ari's lawyer's doing in another case, it makes you think the same thing's gonna happen.
Be enough to get somebody arrested.
Yes.
But if that's all they got, that is not proof beyond a reasonable doubt.
Very
ladies and gentlemen.
nervous.
So please, Mr. Prosecutor in the Delphi case, please tell me you have some more evidence. All right. We'll give you the quick summary now. But more than 5 years after the slaying of the 2 Indiana teens in the small town of Delphi, details were released Tuesday in the case against the man accused in their killing. Now, while the documents shed some light onto what happened that day, a lot of questions remain. Now, for those who aren't familiar, Abigail Williams, she was 13 and Libby German, 14 at the time, never returned to a prearranged pickup spot after their walk on the Delphi Historic Trails on the afternoon of February 13th of 2017. Searchers found their bodies the next morning, Valentine's Day, in a wooded area not far from the Monon High Bridge, which they had visited the day before. Now in October, police announced that Richard Allen of Delphi was arrested and charged with 2 counts of murder in the deaths of Libby and Abby. A redacted version of the probable cause affidavit was released. And when I mean redacted, the only thing that this judge, who I think is very good so far, only thing she redacted was the names of the witnesses. Everything else comes in, is released to the public. Kudos to the judge. And you have to remember, it was the defense that wanted this released, and the prosecutor said, no, don't release it, because they said that there could be one other person or others that acted with Mr. Allen, allegedly. Well, they sure didn't put that in their affidavit. So here is a brief summary of what you may want to know. So an unspent bullet found within 2 feet of one of the girls' bodies had been allegedly cycled through the firearm owned by Mr. Allen, according to investigators, and the firearm was located by investigators at Mr. Allen's home on October 13th during the search. Now, when we went through this last night, the caveat, the warning that comes with saying this firearm cycled through that bullet, which was a Sig Sauer P226, which is a mass-produced firearm. Frankly, police officers love Sig Sauers, and they're mass-produced. And so the warning from the lab is that this analysis is subject to interpretation, and it's subjective, which means it's open to interpretation. Okay?
Yeah.
It's not 100% ironclad that
this lawyer's
firearm
gonna
was
have
the
a
same
field
one
day.
that was cycling through this unspent fire, the unspent
I hope they
round
have more.
that was found next to the girls.
I
So
hope they
Mr.
have
Allen
more.
never denied that he purchased the firearm in 2001, and he actually went to the Indiana State Police Department voluntarily on October 26th. When he spoke with the investigators, he stated he never allowed anyone to borrow or use the gun. When asked about the unspent bullet, he didn't have any explanation of why the bullet would be found between the bodies. He again admitted that he was on the trail, but denied knowing victim 1 or 2 and denied any involvement in the murders. Now, Williams and German were killed is still a mystery to the public. The affidavit does not give a cause of death or explain how the girls
They've had
were
so
killed.
long. They better
However,
not mess
you can
this
kind
up.
of read between the lines where it was
They've
probably
had so long.
a sharp object. The affidavit also confirms the 2 girls were killed on the north bank of the Deer Creek, as reported since February 14th of 2017. Now, a video taken by the German on the day the girls were killed was published and
I'm so
distributed by
nervous
investigators.
about
It shows a
this.
man in a dark jacket and jeans walking behind them on the Monon High Bridge on the trails east of Delphi. As the man in the video approached the girls, one of the team said, "Gun," according to the affidavit. Now, police first released a grainy image of the suspect from a video a day after the girls were found in 2017. A week later, they released audio of a man's
ATS.
voice saying "down the hill." The longer version of the same smartphone video released in 2019 shows the gait of the man as he was walking on the bridge, as well as a longer version of audio where he can be heard saying "guys down the hill." Now, witnesses, according to the affidavit, told police they passed by a man on the trail that day Abby and Libby were killed and remembered seeing a car parking lot nearby. According to the affidavit, one of the 3 witnesses described the car as a PT Cruiser, another one said an SUV, and a third described it as a smart car. So here's a picture of a smart car. Here's a picture of a PT Cruiser. Here's a picture of a SUV. And here's a picture of a 2016 Ford Focus that Mr. Allen had at that particular time. You tell me, close? Investigators believe those descriptions are similar enough in nature to the 2016 Ford Focus. So close enough. And one of the witnesses describes passing a man along the trail
Yeah,
who
but
wore a
it's
blue
reasonable
collared
doubt.
jacket and jeans and was muddy and bloody. She further stated that it appears he had been in a fight, according to the affidavit. Now, only one of the witnesses described muddy and bloody clothing, and one witness said the man was wearing blue jeans and a blue jacket. As they passed by the man on the trail, of the group said, one of the members of the group said hi. The man glared at them, one of the witnesses said, according to the affidavit. Now, investigators believe that after the victims were murdered, Richard Allen returned to his vehicle by walking down the Carroll County Road 300 North, which is where he then got into his alleged vehicle and drove away. Like I said,
I do have the drone footage of different things. If you guys want me to show that, let me know.
we'll have to wait and see. I really do not know. I was really expecting all the stuff with Keegan Klein.
Yeah,
He
exactly.
gave a big affidavit where the police were convinced that he was involved in some way. And then there's nothing. Go ahead, watch the video from last night. And I will also, if you're a Patreon member, you can watch the video last night where we use a Sig Sauer firearm and we show how to cycle through. And we explain the problems with gun science, so to speak. There's lots of problems with it. I'm sure the defense will have no problem finding an expert saying when you have a firearm this mass produced, that there's no way to say this is an exact match in any way whatsoever.
That's what I was afraid of.
A mass produced firearm, oftentimes carried by police. Just saying.
Oh. Oh, man. That is not good. I hope they have more than this. Oh my gosh.
Sig Sauer has a general policy where they may give steep discounts or free firearms to police officers. So it could have been a police officer for all we know. You just never know. But we don't like.
Oh my gosh.
Just saying. Why did it take so long for Richard Allen to be charged? Well, it appears that his information was essentially lost. That's right. The 2017 interview with Mr. Allen was overlooked due to a clerical error. A civilian FBI employee.
I know. I just hope they have more. I don't. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a gun expert, but to me, it just sounded like, okay, it's one thing to have markings if it's shot, but I've never heard of any bullet being tested for markings that was unspent. So when I first heard it, I'm just like, I'm not a gun expert, but it doesn't sound like it would be that strong. And Scott Reich, wow, he made a lot of good points too. It could be from a freaking gun from LE.
Employee mislabeled or misfiled the tip information in their system, which means it didn't show up in the correct location during a data search. Investigators actually interviewed him, like I said, back in 2017, when he told them that, hey, I was on the Monon High Bridge and the Free Bridge between 1:30 p.m. and 3:30 p.m. on the day of the alleged murders. The timing matched the window in which the girls were killed. Now, that's according to the police. As the case stalled, police returned to the investigation's very beginning. That's when the police discovered the interview with Mr. Allen, prompting them to look much closer at him as a suspect. Now, the Indiana State Police obviously announced his arrest on Monday, October 31st, even though he had actually been arrested on the 29th. Now, his potential tie to the case remained under seal until November 29th, when the judge released the redacted version of the probable cause. And you may want to check out our live that we did Tuesday night, where we went through it line by line. But the court document said that the unspent round from a gun allegedly owned by Mr. Allen tied him to the murders of Abby.
It's just, I mean, I understand all that, Song C, but when the superintendent comes out and says, today was the day, I mean, I understand, everything that you're saying, because we all, that's where we all come from when it comes to our thought process. But when the superintendent comes out and says, today is the day, it makes all of us in the community feel like there's a hell of a lot more than what the hell's being released. You know what I mean? And when this is what they offer, and it sure as hell don't make sense, you find out that there's a clerical error he was never followed up with. You know, all of this stuff that's taken place, it just knocks your confidence down and down and down and down and down. And it's like, okay, so the superintendent came out and said today was the day. You got all the family members all riled up thinking that they finally are going to have justice. And then after certain paperwork gets released, and this is what you're offering, and it's like, okay, why is, with what you're saying and what has taken place this whole time, and the stuff that we found out about the clerical error, the lack of really strong evidence so far that we know of, but the superintendent comes out and says today's the day. The family, they have interviews with the mom and the grandparents, and I can't imagine what they're going through right now hearing this shit. Gosh. I'm just some dude on YouTube, and I can't imagine what their loved ones are feeling right now. Like, can you even trust what the dude's saying right now? Because it sounded like he was, today was the day. I don't know.
Williams and Libby German, and
it is
investigators
absurd.
discovered the bullet just feet away from the girls' bodies. Now, Allen told the police he had never let anyone else use his Sig Sauer P226.
That today was the day because you found a frickin' bullet that could match even a law enforcement's weapon. Yeah, you put yourself there, but they weren't killed from a gun. How do you get to the conclusion to tell the family today's the day? That's what I'm fucking wondering right now.
And according to the affidavit, a laboratory analysis determined that the unspent round had been cycled through Allen's gun. And Mr. Allen was unable to explain why the unspent round was cycled through his gun. Now, you'll definitely want to take a look at our video that we did Tuesday night on our live. And if you're a Patreon, you want to check that out because we explain the whole cycling process. And like I said, I think it's not going to be too difficult for the defense to come up with somebody and say, hey, you have a mass-produced gun. There's no way that you could possibly say it came from this particular firearm with Mr. Allen. Now, based upon that information and some eyewitness accounts, police believe that Mr. Allen is the man seen on the video taken by Libby German.
I think he is too.
And police had obviously released a grainy photo of the man commonly known as Bridge Guy as far back as 2017. Now, for now, Mr. Allen remains in custody, and a bail hearing is set for early February of 2023. So I understand in the age of computers, everybody wants to go digital. Okay, I have some younger people that work in my office, and we have digital. But if we have a case that is going to go to trial, and we know it's going to go to trial from the beginning, you know what we do? We print everything out. It's so much easier to find. It can't be, put into a different file by mistake that you don't know where it is. You have everything bait stamped from 1 through whatever the number goes through, and you can always pull it out. You have an original paper copy. Sometimes we get things so complicated with computers and trying to be so smart and savvy. Just go old school and use paper. I'm telling you. And when you go to trial, some judges want to say, oh, we want to do this and that. I'm telling you, technology doesn't always work. and you have to be prepared with backup, and that's paper to present your exhibits, your video, your statement, whatever you're going to introduce. You got to have the backup. Go paper. I'm telling you. I know it's old school. I'm old, but I'm telling you, paper
and multiple copies.
All right. The attorneys for Richard Allen, the man accused of.
Wow. Okay. There's another new University of Idaho video out from News Nation. I'm going to go ahead and play that. That is. That poor grandma. She was like, they interviewed her. Libby's grandma, they interviewed her after, the superintendent said today was the day, and she was all sad, and she was talking about, she was, all this strength that she had was, trying to find the person who committed this crime, and now that they found him, now she doesn't know what she's going to do. I remember that interview when he first got arrested. That's who I'm thinking about right now. That is just, and then her, geez, the whole it's just crazy.
We're also staying on top of the stabbing deaths of 4 Idaho college students. That killer's still on the loose, and Kaylee Gonsalves' parents are coming forward. 2 of the girls, close friends, sleeping in the same bed, but now Kaylee's parents saying the means of death between the 2 students doesn't match. They are still pushing for more answers. Joining me now for some insight into this complex investigation, Tracy Walder, former CIA officer and FBI special agent. Tracy, it's good to see you. Thank you for being here.
Good to see you too, Natasha. Thank you.
So, Tracy, what do you hear when the parents say that the way these students were killed does not match?
Yeah, so I listened to that interview, and it's what I have been saying for a while, in that some of the ways that we can know that this is a targeted attack is in the manner in which some of these victims were killed. And I want to be sensitive, obviously, to these parents and to their friends and family. But what you might see in a situation like this is sort of a gross overkill of one victim versus the others who maybe simply just got in the way. And I believe that that's what her father is referring to. The other thing that he said multiple times was that the perpetrator didn't have to go upstairs. And that is something I said as well, particularly when I kind of walked through the floor plan of the house. If the perpetrator did indeed enter on that second floor, they had to make a cognizant effort to walk up those stairs to the 3rd floor where Maddie and Kaylee were.
I remember you saying that. Can you explain this concept of overkill to us? What does it look like or mean when there's overkill with one victim and that type of killing looking very different from someone who is perhaps just in the way? Can you speak to that a little more?
Right. So what you might see in a situation like that, and what I do believe this probably was it was rage, right? We've all had things where we've been angry and frustrated, and you get your endorphins are up, and you're looking at perhaps multiple dozens and dozens of stab wounds on one victim, just rather maybe below 5 stab wounds on another, that was just enough to kill them. Whereas the multiple dozens that we're seeing on one of the victims, if that is what happened, would be evidence that this person was a target of someone's rage and they wanted to do more than just kill them.
In cases of overkill, how likely is it that the victim knew the killer?
In a case of overkill, I would imagine that it's very highly likely that the victim knew the killer. Now, whether or not the killer was in their, really, really intimate inner circle, I don't know for certain. But I would imagine that, the victim and killer maybe knew each other. However, the killer perhaps may have thought that they knew the victim more.
With Kaylee's father, we are again hearing parental concern that suspects were cleared too fast. Even in your professional capacity, do you think that it appears that way?
So I do believe so. I do think that law enforcement is doing the best that they can, but I always try to, again, I'm not in law enforcement, but I try to sort of look at the facts of what we have now. And I sort of wanted to walk folks through really this timeline that we have here. We know the bodies were not discovered until November 14th. And then we know that on November 20th, there was a statement from public relations with the police departments stating folks had been cleared and who those folks were. That was a little surprising to me in that, sure, some people may have just handed over their phones to police officers to get alibis for them. But in some cases, it may have taken them to obtain warrants, to obtain data from people's phones. And we don't necessarily know if it did or didn't. Also, in terms of DNA, sure, maybe you can get it back in 2 days, but it's probably going to take a little bit longer than that. And so, you may have someone who's phone possibly put them in a certain location, but you don't know that the person is actually
it's been 3 weeks
with that phone. So then you have to go obtain warrants to get things from video cameras and closed circuit TVs and those kinds of things. And so I'm just very surprised that really within 4 to 5 days, a certain group of people were cleared very, very quickly.
I hear you and always appreciate the context. Tracy Welder, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I don't know. Let me see here. We got a couple interviews here. We got 2 parents. Man, let me see. Okay, so that's pretty much the interviews. So I'll remove that one. We'll go to this one first.
So while talking to students here on the University of Idaho's campus, I came across a young man who was good friends with Ethan Chapin. And he told me what it's been like to face this tragic loss. Watch.
I knew Ethan and Xana.
What do you remember about them?
They were really good people. I always loved seeing them whenever they were around campus. Ethan was a good friend of mine, so it's pretty sad. But I came back because I still want to keep pursuing my dreams, but it's definitely a lot hard for people to come back, especially after that.
It's got to be crazy anxiety.
Do you think it's brought the community, this university, closer together, or has it fractured the campus?
Putting your safety at risk for your future. I mean, it's like, what?
Not a lot
That's
of
a
people
tough decision.
But in a way, it's brought us together, especially just the Moscow community and Idaho in general.
How do you feel about them not catching the person that did this? Is that completely shocking to you right now? Or
I mean, given the little amount of evidence that they have and have found, it's not too surprising that they haven't found the...
Well, I'm glad he showed his hand, because I was just going to ask, is he wearing gloves? You never know.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it any.
All right, let's go to this parents interview here. Council member. Let's see. Let's go to this one here.
Good evening, America, and welcome to this special edition of Cross Country in Moscow, Idaho. Tonight, we are in front of the Moscow Police Department, and you may be asking why. It's been about 3 weeks since the horrific stabbing death of 4 college students at the University of Idaho. 3 weeks since we lost Xana, Maddie, Kaylee, and Ethan. 3 weeks, and still the police have no suspect or person of interest. The community has been left in limbo, left with more confusion and more questions. We are on the hunt for answers for them. Moscow deserves answers. The students of the university deserve answers. These 4 young innocent victims deserve answers, and so do their families. So let's start there. Joining me now on set, the parents of Kaylee Goncalves, Christy and Steve Goncalves. Thank y'all so much for being with me. You guys have been so transparent and strong for the public. Christy, you called the person that did this the boogeyman.
Yeah.
What did you mean by that?
It's literally like what nightmares are made of. Like when you're a little kid and you think of the boogeyman, that's just how I feel. Like that's just the horrific details of everything. Them just having a good time, going home and going to bed, and that's happening to them.
Your best friend crawling into bed.
Just crawling in bed.
Every
and
girl
the
in
boogeyman
America
comes.
knows what that's
The
like.
boogeyman doesn't, meet you at McDonald's. I mean, the boogeyman comes and snatches you out of your bedroom.
Steve, we've been talking. I've been talking to folks in the community. You said something that stuck with me. You said, until this person is caught, you can't sleep in your bed.
No, I can't just lay in my bed and do nothing. That's not the way I raised my family. That's not the way I raised my girls and my son. You don't be a victim. You stand up for yourself and you do everything in your power to make sure people hear you. And they're gonna hear Kaylee. They're gonna hear Maddie. They're gonna hear these.
The other two as well.
Yes. I'm careful saying anything about them because I need to be careful because I can't speak on somebody else's child. But these two girls, I'm not trying to be a glory hound, but these two girls, I'm going to do what I can do. And we're not being victims. We're going to fight. We're going to figure out how to make sure that we hold everybody, accountable, and we keep eyes and attention on this and get this thing resolved.
Steve, you have made it very clear to our audience that you are supportive of law enforcement. You support the investigation. But recently, I've been watching and talking with you, and you're getting frustrated. What does that frustration come from, sir?
They put certain people between you and the officers that are making things happen. And those people are like lawyers and they don't want to say anything. And they don't have the guts to come up and be alpha and be like leaders and say, hey, we might say something that's wrong. We're going to take that hit. So the officers, they look me straight in their eyes. The lead detective looked me in his eyes. I have no doubt he's working as hard as he can. But somebody isn't communicating. There's nothing being released. It seems like they're trying to suppress the story. We want to put rewards out. They're like, don't do that. Yeah, I get it. Your town doesn't want to have reward posters posted all over when you come and you do your rush. You're not going to get a lot of students if they see those things. But this community is not going to heal until this guy's pulled off the streets. It ain't going to happen. Think it through. It's not going to happen. He has to be off the streets. We all are working for the same thing.
When was the last time y'all heard from the police?
Thursday,
we looked at our phone records. We want to be accurate. We don't want to sell anyone out.
about 3 o'clock on Thursday.
And
did y'all get an update from the police about the investigation?
There was nothing. We have no updates for you.
Oh, they look so
We had to
frustrated.
sign a waiver form so that they could investigate something that was mail related. So we're working with them. We're not selling them out. We love our law support.
Interesting.
The FBI,
So
everybody
something
that's
came
here,
in the mail. Hold on
we
one
just have
second.
no information as family, and it gets tough
Hold
day
on
after
one
day
second.
after day. I mean,
Date from the police about the investigation?
there was nothing. We have no updates for you.
There was no update. They needed me to sign a waiver form so that they could investigate something that was mail related. So we're working with them. We're not selling them out. We love our law
And
support.
that's the information they said a few days ago. He said that he had some information, but that he couldn't share it because LE didn't want him to share it with anybody, and he kind of shared it right there. It was something that came in the mail. Huh. Like a letter, maybe? That's, something that came in the mail. I want to hear that again, sorry.
They need me to sign a waiver form so that they could investigate something that was mail related.
They needed to sign a waiver so they could investigate something that some mail. So who would have sent them mail? Could it have been the person that did this? Apologizing for something? I mean, or So for them to think that it pertains to the case, that it could be useful information, and it came in the mail, right, ATS? He knows something. Like this mail? Huh. He does like to talk, so I'm pretty sure we'll find something out in a couple days. But dang, that makes you wonder. Something that came in the mail. They needed to sign a waiver. So they basically had to hand over, because it's their property, their federal property, so they had to sign a waiver to hand that property over to LE so it could be investigated. Could it have been a threat? I mean, it has to be something for them to like feel it pertains to the case. Could it be a threat, an apology? Some kind of article that was sent as an antagonistic gesture? Huh. That is very interesting.
So we're working with them. We're not selling them out. We love our law support.
Dang, I wonder what that is.
We just have
I wonder if it's a threat.
Family, and it gets tough day after day after day. I mean, every day you just wake up and think today's the day. We're going to hear something.
I wonder if it's a threat.
Oh, there's a break in the case, and it'll just be something stupid.
I don't see it being an apology. Very small.
Stop playing
or an
games.
article putting yourself there.
Lives, and this is the future
a threat
of this community. There's going to be 10,000, 15,000 kids.
I could see it being that more than anything.
They don't. So I'm serious.
I had the opportunity to speak to some of my sources, and I've been told that there were differences in the way that the victims were killed. Some were more severe than the other. And this week we heard the target,
is he gonna say it?
Walk back and then reverse it back to it being a target attack. What can you tell us about the targeted attack?
They have told
He's
us
trying not to
it
say.
was targeted, but they told us they can't tell who. We asked specifically, and they said, we'll try to get that information to you. And they got back to us a day or so later, and they said, we're sorry, we can't give you that information. But then a day later, we saw in the news that it was not targeted, or they think the whole house was targeted. But
I'll cut to the chase.
Yeah.
Their means of death don't match.
Maddie's
They don't.
and Kaylee's cause of death, it does not match based on the autopsy report.
They don't match.
Would indicate
What?
that one of them
He doesn't have to
may
go
have
up
been
the
the target.
steps. Let's
Hold on,
stop
hold on,
playing
hold on,
games,
hold on.
guys. I
Whoa,
need
whoa, whoa, whoa,
somebody
whoa,
to
whoa,
step
whoa.
up, and they don't.
And Kaylee's cause of death, it does not match based on the autopsy report.
They don't match.
Would indicate that one of them
What?
He doesn't have
may
to go
have
up
been
the
target.
steps. Let's.
Okay, I'm trying to listen to one because they're both talking. I'm sorry if I rewind this a few times. I'm trying to listen to one part of the conversation, then I'm going to try and listen to the other here. Sorry.
Cause of death, it does not match based on the autopsy report.
They don't match.
Would indicate that one of them
He doesn't have
may
to go
have
up
been
the
target.
steps. Let's.
Would indicate that one of them may have been the target. Okay, and then let me go what the dad says.
It does not match based on the autopsy report.
They don't match.
Would indicate that one of them
He doesn't have
may
to go
have
up
been
the
the target.
steps. Let's stop playing games, guys. I need somebody
What?
to step up and be an out.
He doesn't have to go up the steps? What? What the hell does that mean? doesn't have to go up the steps. Because the coroner said there was 2 on the 3rd floor. Very first initially said that they all appeared that they were sleeping. So you would think they're in a frickin' bedroom. Whether they were in bed or not, you know, because she did walk it back on some of the things she said. But he just said he doesn't have to go up the stairs. What the hell? What does that mean?
Would indicate that one of them.
He doesn't have to
may
go
have
up
been
the
target.
steps. Let's
He doesn't
stop
have to go
playing
up the
games, guys. I need somebody to step up and be an alpha. Be somebody to be a leader. Don't make me do it. I don't want to do it. He doesn't have to go up the steps. Their points of damage don't match. I'm just gonna say it. It wasn't leaked to me. I earned that. I paid for that funeral. I paid for that. It's my right. You ain't taking that from me.
Calm down.
If you don't want to say nothing,
Points
that's
of
your
damage
right.
don't
say I'm
match?
leaking anything. I paid that bill. Sent my daughter to college to get an education. She came back in the box, and I can speak on that.
I was also told from sources that are closer to an investigation because there was a lot of roommates in there. And this
Thank you,
was
Kip Kitty.
horrific for those roommates that were there as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
The preservation of this crime scene. Witnesses tell me that it may have well been preserved because the phone was passed around between one of the fraternity members and the girls. One of them unfortunately witnessed the death, the body there. Can you confirm that?
We cannot actually. We know nothing about that whole phone call. We've asked, and it's, I mean, I know that a lot of people want to know, but that's just not our agenda. We just are like, somebody called 911.
He didn't have to go upstairs, and the point of damage don't match.
And nothing has been clarified or been told to us at all. And I mean, I don't know if I personally have asked anything about that. I don't know if you have asked that.
Oh,
but,
you know they're going to keep interviewing
we know
him.
that this is getting 3 weeks in, and it's starting to get. We don't want it to go cold.
He's the one that keeps
we're
coming
reaching
out with
I reach out to friends down in
updates.
California today that have connections that we're hoping to raise some money to get a reward, to get a private investigator.
Third party.
Why go the private route? Do y'all
Wow.
worry that at the end of this week that this case may be
100%.
cold?
We're scared.
When you
We're
tell me you
scared.
don't want to,
They're getting a private investigator.
photo up there with the reward offering information, that kind of sounds like you're trying to like suppress the story. I mean, why do you not need help? But hey, I could be wrong, and you officers, I apologize if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
I want to.
absolutely.
Please forgive me. Please forgive me. But if you don't have the information, people do know. If they don't, then you know
Give us
the
something.
community. This is a community that is IT based. These guys live a digital footprint like we've never. All of us older people, we don't know.
That's what I
how
was
much that
thinking,
digital
the same
footprint
thing,
could be
Jen.
helpful. So that's what we asked for. I hope like a DNA, family lineage, if they could come out here and just start taking. This town is not that big. We could figure out this, and it might not be him. It might be a family member. We have family all going to the school together. You know, there's cousins, there's aunts, there's uncles. We could find this guy
Those,
just with volunteers.
lineage companies where our
Put Idaho on the map.
Christy, Steve, we're gonna.
Yeah, but Jen, I feel like he's talking about the points of damage don't match for the 3rd floor. When it comes to what the coroner states and what took place on the 3rd floor. And I totally agree with you, and I've felt the same way the whole time, that I felt the 2nd floor was the target and not the 3rd. But he's talking specifically, he said that he can't speak for the 2nd floor in the beginning of this. He can't speak for the 2nd floor. He's just speaking about the 3rd. And I feel like if a coroner's coming out stating that they were all even though she backtracked on some things. If you first come out with, you feel like they were all in bed, then you backtrack whether they were sleeping or not, but it's still, she didn't backtrack that they weren't that they weren't found in their respective bedrooms, but you still were led to believe that they were in a bedroom. And now it makes you wonder if they were even up there, what he means. Does he mean that they were stabbed a couple times and were still alive and ran upstairs and then succumbed to their injuries? That's why he's saying they didn't have to go upstairs? It's very interesting. But yeah, he's talking about the third floor and his own daughter and her best friend. Let me see here. I'll try and get to it, Jen. We
case.
just got a
Thank you.
couple
We're not
minutes
going
until
anywhere.
Brian and
You
Special's
guys have been
coming out,
candid
so
with
we
us.
might
We'll
have to get
keep
to it after.
asking questions.
Yeah, I
any
heard.
resources
Yeah,
we have available. Our audience is
that's what I'm kind of getting from this interview here, is that because he's just speaking about the third floor. But yeah, that's what I've been getting from this
praying for you
interview.
guys. Thank y'all. It was big for you guys to come back to Moscow tonight. I know it took a lot of courage to do it, and I'm hoping we can get some answers for you. Thanks so much.
Yeah,
for
I got
joining
one
us
more
tonight.
video I got to go to here of the parents' interview. One second here. I hate it when it brings me all the way to the top again. All right, where's that other one at? Right here. Yeah, right here.
Seen pictures, still no suspect in the murder of 4 Idaho college students stabbed in their sleep. Families mourning their loved ones while looking to the police for answers as agonizing weeks stretch on. News Nation's Brian Enton joining us live now from Moscow. And Brian, some of these family members are frustrated. Are we any closer to a suspect than we were 3 weeks ago?
Unfortunately, not that we know of, Natasha. The latest we have heard from police is that there is still no known suspect, and not even.
Is anyone acting differently since the murders? I mean, is there anyone that you have a weird feeling about that the girls knew or that comes to mind?
Yeah, I would say not in the immediate circle by any means, but a few of the names that have been circulating around, I think it's hard not to kind of, dig into this. And I don't know how much of that is just because we have so little information from law enforcement and how much of it really is, a sister or a father's intuition.
Can you elaborate at all? I don't know. You don't have to give a name, but I mean, is it someone that she knew or?
I have something to say about that. I just feel like there's been a couple individuals that were cleared very fast. That maybe should not have been. And
I wonder if that has to
if you can dismiss an hour later and
pertain to the mail they got.
And I don't know. I don't know anything about those individuals. I just know they were people that definitely should have been looked at. And
I don't know what would prevent you from sharing somebody's alibi.
Yeah, I think that's what we're struggling with. So it's like, we know what we know. We've, fought for Jack, Kaylee's boyfriend, and, we still stand that way. So I did just kind of want to clear that up while we're talking through this ambiguity that, that's not what we're honing in on here.
We don't want to make more victims out of innocent people.
Exactly.
We definitely don't want to do that.
And so what the family is talking about is there's been a number of people involved who police have said have been cleared at this point. The family is saying they want to know what the specific
All right, now I'll go to
alibis
that
are. They
link
want
from
to
Jen
know the
real quick.
evidence and proof.
Let's see here. Then we'll go to that Brian Enton special. Hopefully it works on Hulu. I got it all set up, so I'm hoping it works. Father said the suspect in the murders of the 4 Idaho college students allegedly entered and exited their home on the 2nd floor. Yeah.
Today marks 3 weeks since 4 University of Idaho students were brutally stabbed to death inside their home. And investigators still have not named a suspect.
Officials are combing through thousands of tips, crime scene photos, and
Steve, before we start this interview, I just want you to know how much our hearts go out to you. That I know from what I'm hearing from people.
I used to watch him on
they are
ESPN.
with you, they're
Will
praying
Cain.
for you, and they're also
That's
hoping
weird.
for justice to come sooner rather than later for your daughter.
He's on Fox
and her
News now.
friends. You mentioned here, you talked about the manner in which
He used to have his own
Kaylee
radio
and Maddie
show
were
on
killed
ESPN
is
too,
different.
huh?
And what does that tell you, and what are the police telling you that means?
There's a couple things that tell me with common sense, but I'm not a professional, so I want to specify that. But they've said the entry point was the slider or the window. It was in the middle floor. So to me, he doesn't have to go upstairs.
And what are the
And thank you for the link, Jen.
means?
There's a couple things that tell me with common sense, but I'm not a professional, so I want to specify that. But they've said the entry point was the slider or the window. It was in the middle floor. So to me, he doesn't have to go upstairs. His entry and exit are available without having to go upstairs or downstairs. Looks like he probably may have not gone downstairs. We don't know that for sure, but he obviously went upstairs. So I'm using logic that he chose to go up there when he didn't have to. And I can kind of tell by my daughter's texts, messages. She did call 911. She wasn't saying anything along the lines of like she'd heard something or she was in fear. So I'm just putting the dots together. As far as the investigation for downstairs, looks like he probably may have not gone downstairs. We don't know that for sure, but he obviously went upstairs. So he doesn't have to go upstairs. His entry and exit are available without having to go upstairs or downstairs. Looks like he probably may have not gone downstairs. We don't know that for sure, but he obviously went upstairs. So I'm using logic that he chose to go up there when he didn't have to. And I can kind of tell by my daughter's texts, messages. She did call 911. She wasn't saying anything along the lines of like she had heard something or she was in fear. So
I need to hear that over.
Specify that, but they've said the entry point was the slider or the window. It was in the middle floor. So to me, he doesn't have to go upstairs. His entry and exit are available without having to go upstairs or downstairs. Looks like he probably may have not gone downstairs.
Okay, his entry, he doesn't have to go upstairs or downstairs? Is he saying they went through a window on the 3rd floor? The sliding glass door on the balcony? I don't understand that, what he's saying.
We don't know that for sure, but he obviously went upstairs.
I don't understand that.
Me with common sense, but
Fill me in,
I'm not
Jen.
a professional, so I want to specify that. But they've said the entry point was the slider or the window. It was in the middle floor. So to me,
So the entry point was in the middle?
Entry and exit are available without having to go upstairs or downstairs. Looks like he probably may have not gone downstairs. We don't know that for sure, but he obviously went upstairs. So I'm using logic that he chose to go up there when
That's
he didn't
what I
have
was
to.
thinking, Phantom. But then I don't understand what he's saying, where they don't have to go upstairs, but if the coroner said that people were on the 3rd floor, well then I'm just confused here. Because from what I'm getting so far is that they came through the 2nd floor sliding glass door, and he's saying they didn't have to go upstairs and they didn't have to go downstairs. So does that mean that everything took place in the kitchen? Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Phantom. The downstairs had door locked. They Okay. I still don't understand. So if he didn't have to go up, so is he saying that the person went into the second floor to get rid of the third and fourth target to then go upstairs to get rid of the first and second? So he's saying because they came in, so what he's saying is if Ethan and Zaina were a target, then they wouldn't have had to go upstairs. And so that makes him feel like the target was upstairs. But, I mean, I totally get that. But I also see that Ethan and Zaina could have been the target. And because the girls were running around upstairs, they heard noise. They knew somebody heard them. That's why they went upstairs, and that's why they didn't go downstairs, because they didn't hear nothing downstairs. I could see that being as well, but I mean, yeah, nobody has to go upstairs. But if you're hearing footsteps and voices and you're doing a crime, I mean, don't you just go up there anyway, even if they're not a target? Yeah, that's what I heard too, Jen, that they were in bed together. That's what the dad said at the vigil. Yeah, he said that at the vigil. So he's saying that they went upstairs first. I mean, I see where he can be coming from, but I can also see how they went upstairs because they heard people making noise as well.
And I can kind of tell by my daughter's texts, messages. She did.
Yeah, Jen. He said it at the vigil.
Saying anything along the lines of like
that they were found in bed. They died in bed together as well because they were so close.
The dots together. As far as the investigators, they're very tight-lipped and they're keeping everything close to their vest. I understand that, and I'm probably not the right person to share all these things with. So I'm just trusting them that their case is super tight and they don't really need to reach out to the community and,
Let's see how much time.
So
let me see
Steve,
if it started on Hulu.
Respectful, as I can tell, you're trying to walk this tightrope as well with law enforcement, with the desire to know and get some type of action as well. You've said both now to Rachel and then in the clip in your appearance with Lawrence Jones that your daughter and Maddie had different means or manner of attack, and that suggests one of them was targeted. Can you share with us, do you know, and you can't share either way, which one was targeted?
I can't. I asked for permission to do just that, and they said no. I probably disclosed information that they wish I wouldn't have said, but the story's going cold. There's less people coming to Moscow. I'm not gonna go sleep knowing that I could get up and I could go to town and I could do something.
Oh, that sucks.
I'm not gonna go away, and I hate to be a pain, but as a father, I just can't even sleep thinking that I could be doing something. So that's why I'm up.
Understandable. Wow.
Let me ask the flip side too. You're being respectful toward police about the fact that they need to be tight-lipped.
Well, I guess I got to pay $70 for Hulu Live TV. I just went to go play it. So I can play it on a replay, I imagine, on Hulu. If anybody has the link that we can watch that News Nation on a link or something, go ahead and send it to me, please. Yeah, it wasn't telling me this until I went to click on it to watch it. It wants me to pay $70 frickin' a month for live TV. Wow. I think, Allison, Ethan and Zaina may have been killed when he came back down. Ethan may have prevented him from killing the other two. That's a good point, too. That's what I've been trying to say. He may not have known to. Yeah, that's we all think that he didn't know about the very bottom floor. I just didn't understand this what the dad was exactly trying to say, because he's telling him he didn't have to go upstairs. The points of damage don't match when it comes to the upstairs. Kip Kitty, I'm wondering if the girls were killed first and Ethan can... Yeah, that's what they're saying. I mean, it all could be true. Hell, we all don't know. But this dad, it's like every few days he's letting a little bit out, letting a little bit out, letting a little bit out. It was a couple days before the vigil, after the vigil, you know, and now earlier he's saying that the evidence that they handed over was male. So he keeps giving us little bits of information every few days and stuff. No, I understood what you were saying, Jen. Huh.
But if there was something,
yeah, if anybody has that link, please send it. Otherwise, we'll just watch it tomorrow night, I suppose, because it'll be on link then.
The police that you feel like, hey, just throw
Sorry about that.
For sure. I mean, alibis. Just share.
I didn't know I had to pay $70 bucks.
Sharing an alibi, to me, it tells me that you're not 100% confident that it's going to stick, or you have somebody who's going to come forward and say, hey, I don't know what he told you or that person's alibi was, but I have this information. I have something. So if you don't share the alibi, it makes it a little bit harder for us to just let those go. And I've said it before, I don't want to make victims out of just bystanders and witnesses. So I just share those things. And
yeah, but he wants a profile out there. I don't blame him.
That you're being asked to not talk more, and that law enforcement is being so tight-lipped to protect an investigation that is honing in on a conclusion, or because they're totally lost and there is no real sense of direction. And I think all of us, we want to trust law enforcement. We want them.
Jen, if you feel like that would be a better option for you to do a recording and email it to me, you could do that as well.
To do their job.
Whatever works.
But I don't know if you know. I have no idea. Is this thing honing in at this point, or is it scattered all over the place?
Wish I knew for sure. I did sit down with the lead investigator, and I looked in his eyes, and I got a sense that this guy was going to do everything in his power to figure something out. But if the evidence isn't there, that's the part.
Yeah, that's the link that I tried, Allison, because I don't have cable. I just use YouTube and Hulu and Disney and stuff like that. So I don't pay for cable, but I do have Hulu. What the heck? Why is it doing this? Why did it just do that? But I do have Hulu, and so I thought since I have a Hulu subscription, I would be able to watch it from one of those links. I don't have YouTube Live TV. That's a subscription as well. But if there's a working link where you don't need to have a subscription to something, please send it to me. Yeah, that's how I first found it, Allison. I was just trying. Well, you can't call me, but you can join the open panel if you want. But I try my best to read the messages, and so if I'm not understanding something, I apologize, Jen. Yeah, I don't have cable. It's too much. I just pay for my Hulu and my
all-time favorite play.
My Hulu and my Disney, and I do have a YouTube Premium or something, so I don't have commercials and stuff. But on these links, there's commercials no matter what, so I have to sit and wait for them.
Today marks 3 weeks since 4 University of Idaho students.
I mean, alibis, just share the alibi. If you're not sharing an alibi,
Well, no, Jen, if you really feel like you need to make a recording or something, please do.
to me, it tells me that you're not 100% confident that it's going to stick, or you have somebody who's going to come forward and say, hey, I don't know what he told you or that person's alibi was, but I have this information. I have something. So if you don't share the alibi, it makes it a little bit harder for us to just let those go. And I've said it before, I don't want to make victims out of just bystanders and witnesses. So I just share those things, and that would help.
Steve, do you get the sense that you're being asked to not talk more, and that law enforcement is?
Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure he is, because he is letting stuff
an
out.
Investigation that is honing in on a conclusion, or because they're totally lost and there is no real sense of direction. And I think all of us, we want to trust law enforcement. We want them to do their job. But I don't know if you know, I have no idea. Is this thing honing in at this point, or is it scattered all over the place?
Wish I knew for sure. I did sit down with the investigator, the lead investigator, and I looked in his eyes, and I got a sense that this guy was going to do everything in his power to figure something out. But if the evidence isn't there, that's the part that I'm concerned. And then there's layers of separation. The communication is not the same as the boots on ground. All the officers that are out on the streets, those guys, they're working their tails off. But there's a different person who does the communication, and that guy's sitting with the lawyer, and that guy's sitting there telling him, you know, you got to protect things that are beyond the case, like the town and the community and the college itself. Those don't matter as much to me. I mean, I definitely don't want to hurt them, but I have an agenda, and I think it's pretty clear. It's these two girls, and that's what I'm working for. And I'm not going to let that story fall apart just because they don't want wanted posters, you know, on their next rush of students that come into town.
He wants to put out a reward.
You know, I have to say, Steve, I hadn't really considered those factors, but it's obvious that that would be a consideration for the communications director of the police department, and also the PR for the school and the town. Are you communicating with the parents of the other victims? Are they feeling as frustrated as you are? And I hate to ask a two-part question, but I'm going to do it anyway. Do you feel confident in the police investigation and the people investigating right now?
I do not feel confident, and that's why I push the envelope and say a little bit more. I hate to be that guy, but you know, there's a job to do for everybody. Has a job and a role to play, and this includes, this is my role as the parent. I have talked to, obviously, Maddie's mother and her father, and
he just doesn't have any confidence in him.
Xana's father, and he said, hey, you can speak on behalf and you can help push this narrative. So I feel confident there. That's as far as the real communications that I have. So one family have missed out to being able to be in the same location and the same thing to really get on the same page. So I've tried not to mention that, and stay within my lane of what is my role. And I'm not trying to just gear it all to my daughter. It's just, I can't speak for other people.
Yeah. Steve, before we let you go, just share a little bit with our audience about Kaylee.
Kaylee was amazing, hard worker. She was like, she hung out with two boys, her brother and her cousin, and she was right in between them. She wanted to be faster than them. She was that girl that was like, really, like, she was kind of like a Punky Brewster type girl. And we missed out on a really smart person that was going to be a little conservative. She was conservative. She was always looking up stories on child, you know, getting trafficked, and she was telling me that she thinks it's a lot bigger than people understand. So, and you know, we can't replace her, guys. There's no replacing any one of these people.
Steve, we're all parents on this on this couch, and
she was aware of that stuff.
You can't imagine what you're going through, you and your whole family. And I know that you came on the show today because you're hoping that people that might have information,
she was aware,
that more information come forward. And so we encourage anybody to call 208-883.
I wonder if this mail that they got was from the stalker.
Right now. And I've heard you say it before, Steve, it could be anything. You have no idea how small the piece of information could be that could help.
You know, and Steve, good on you for agitating.
Yes.
We need more men and fathers willing to do precisely what you're doing, keeping people honest and working toward a solution. God bless you.
You're doing your daughter's memory proud. And frankly, you're an amazing example
Oh, look at him.
of fatherhood, even after something tragic like this happened to her. Thank you for joining us.
Steve,
thank you.
God bless.
Thank you, guys.
Wow, that probably meant a lot to him to hear that too. All right, thank you, Jen. Let me go check to see. Man, it's okay. I appreciate that, Jen. I can just wait until they show it on the replay. I appreciate the offer, though. Man. All right, there's a Athena Strand video out I'm going to switch to real quick. This just came out a few minutes ago. 8 minutes ago.
FedEx driver has been charged with the kidnapping.
I know, Phantom, like, when they said that in that interview that it was in the mail, it was a piece of mail. It's like, is it a threat? Is it an article from the scene? Is it a apology? Like, I'm thinking it leaning more towards it could have been a threat. But they felt it pertained to the case. They had to sign a waiver to transfer ownership of property for it to be investigated, and so yeah, it really makes you wonder.
And killing of a 7-year-old girl. The search for the girl began on Wednesday. Hundreds of volunteers, multiple law enforcement agencies participating before Athena Strand's body was finally found. And police believe that the 3-year-old driver, Tanner Lynn Horner, made a delivery to the young girl's home before abducting and later killing her, snatching her just feet from the house. Joining us now for a closer look at this case, former CIA officer and FBI Special Agent Tracy Walder. Tracy, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And Tracy, first of all, just a terrible story. And I know you and I were speaking about this case before the show. You mentioned this is truly a crime of opportunity. Can you explain what you mean by that?
So really what this is, and you know, this hits home to me. My own daughter is 7 and I live about an hour from where this horrific crime happened. Really a crime of opportunity is someone that has deviant behavior, which this FedEx driver obviously did in this case. And he sees a victim that satisfies those deviant needs. And that victim can be anywhere and everywhere. And it's really hard to screen for those kinds of behaviors in a background check.
That is so awful. And what is so tough with a situation like this is one always looks back and says, what could have prevented this? And we'll talk about FedEx and their role in just a moment. But in this case, the parent wasn't doing anything wrong per se. Is that right?
You know, it doesn't seem like it. I've heard that she had an argument with her stepmother, and at that point, then, you know, left, I guess, the house unbeknownst to the stepmother. And, you know, that's the thing. It's so easy, I think, sometimes to blame parents for not doing this or doing that. And I think, you know, we need to be careful about that because we don't know the specifics of the situation. It sounds like the stepmother went to just go make dinner and she, you know, left the house, I think, out of frustration at that time. And, you know, in that case, there's nothing really wrong going on per se. And I think that that's what makes something like this scary to a lot of us, and that it truly is something that can happen to anyone.
Absolutely. And him being a delivery driver, he has a reason to be in that neighborhood. He has a reason to be close to the house. And of course, one wonders with FedEx, what is the background check like? And if he did not have a criminal history, how can we still screen and catch deviant behavior before tragedy happens?
And you're so right. He absolutely had a reason to be in that neighborhood. If I saw a FedEx truck in my neighborhood, it certainly wouldn't raise alarms to me. So a common background check that he would have had in this case, and I went on FedEx's website to check that out, would have just been things like his criminal history, his employment history, a credit check, vehicle history, just very basic things. It's really difficult to screen for those types of behaviors. I debated sharing this. I'm a former FBI agent. I was a teacher.
Yeah, Allison, I want to thank Punksy for giving us that video yesterday at the beginning of the show. It really does show exactly what you're saying.
and the school I was at offered free daycare for us. And my daughter's teacher was actually sentenced to 20 years in prison for watching child pornography at school. And it's a really difficult thing to screen for. We don't search people's internet history. We don't search their behaviors. We don't follow them to see if they have behaviors that wouldn't pop up in these background checks.
Tracy, I appreciate you sharing that with our viewers. I know you disclosed it to me before, and I'm sorry again for that experience and for what your daughter went through. I do want to ask if he did not have a criminal history, and it is so difficult to catch deviant behavior like this. With a profile like this, are there any patterns or deviant behavior that one would expect to find? And what can we do to try to screen this better in the future?
You know, it's a great question. It's part of why I decided to actually share my story tonight, because I think that as parents, a lot of that onus now falls upon us. And really all we can do, because it is so difficult that, you know, you would have to get a warrant, right, to go on someone's personal computer and see what they're doing. FedEx would have to get a warrant to be able to do that. And they can't necessarily in this case, because they wouldn't have had a reason to. But as parents, really that onus falls upon us to, I guess, in essence, you know, question everything and trust nothing, and to always, you know, we can't always trust people that we think are there to be trusted, like a FedEx driver, a teacher. And I think a lot of times we're lulled into that
or
sense
even
of
the college.
And I think always having an antenna up at all times may seem
You can't even trust going to the grocery store, you know? I mean, it's been shown this whole year.
stressful, but if you sort of get it into your normal behavior, it just becomes part of who you are.
I appreciate that, and that is a good bottom line coming out of this. Tracy Walder, certainly appreciate the perspective. Sad that this is the world we live in, where that kind of constant vigilance.
Well, happening right now, investigators are trying to figure out why a
Whoa.
FedEx truck driver would abduct a child and then take her life. Here's what we know about Athena Strand's case. Law enforcement officials say on Wednesday, Tanner Horner, a contract truck driver for FedEx, delivered a package to the 7-year-old's home, then abducted her.
I know,
Authorities believe
Allison.
Strand died
They
only
can't even be
about an
kids,
hour
you know?
after Horner took her. Authorities say that Horner
Can't even be kids.
confessed to taking and killing the child and is currently in the Wise County Jail on a $1.5 million bond. The Wise County Sheriff's Department says an autopsy will be performed to determine the cause of Athena's death. Our team spoke with attorney Michelle Simpson-Tugel, who represents families in cases similar to these. She broke down what could come next.
I think there's going to be processing of that technological evidence and then processing of the forensic evidence in the autopsy. And that can sometimes take longer, but I would expect in a case of this severity and interest level that they will hopefully process it as quickly as they can. And I'm sure there are going to be other details as the forensic evidence and autopsy are conducted and those results are released, which are going to be really hard for, I think, the community and the public to hear, and especially the family.
Yeah, that'll be difficult. Horner is charged with aggravated kidnapping and capital murder. Tugel says capital murder because Athena was younger than 10 years old.
And the state.
Yeah, I don't blame you, Allison.
Kidnapping and killing a 7-year-old girl. The search for the girl began on Wednesday. Hundreds of enforcement agencies participating before Athena Strand's body was finally found. And police believe that the 31-year-old driver, Tanner Lynn Horner, made a delivery to the young girl's home before abducting and later killing her, snatching her just feet from the house. Joining us now for a closer look at this case, former CIA officer and FBI Special Agent Tracy Walder. Tracy, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And Tracy, first of all, just a terrible story. And I know you and I were speaking about this case before the show. You mentioned this is truly a crime of opportunity. Can you explain what you mean by that?
So really what this is, and you know, this hits home to me. My own daughter is 7 and I live about an hour from where this horrific crime happened. Really a crime of opportunity is someone that has deviant behavior, which this.
Oh, sorry. Maybe you might not have been able to hear me, Cherry, over the people talking. He confessed.
FedEx driver obviously did in this case. And he sees a victim that satisfies those deviant needs. And that victim can be anywhere and everywhere. And it's really hard to screen for
with
those
his
kinds
bare
of
hands.
behaviors in a background
Man. Yeah, so sad.
check.
That is so awful. And what is so tough with a situation like this is one always looks back and says, what could have prevented this? And we'll talk about FedEx and their role in just a moment. But in this case, the parent wasn't doing anything wrong per se. Is that right?
You know, it doesn't seem like it. I've heard that she had an argument with her stepmother, and at that point, then, you know, left, I guess, the house unbeknownst to the stepmother. And, you know, that's the thing. It's so easy, I think, sometimes to blame parents for not doing this or doing that. And I think, you know, we need to be careful about that because we don't know the specifics of the situation. It sounds like the stepmother went to just go make dinner and she, you know, left the house, I think, out of frustration at that time. And, you know, in that case, there's nothing really wrong going on per se. And I think that that's what makes something like this scary.
So she just walked out the front door and he was doing a delivery at the same exact time right in front of the house. And he just was like, you know what, I'm going to grab this girl. She's not going to make a sound. Nobody notices anything and they're gone. It's just weird.
To a lot of us, in that it truly is something that can happen to anyone.
Absolutely. And him being a delivery driver, he has a reason to be in that neighborhood. He has a reason to be close to the house.
Yeah, Songsi, when I got it all set up earlier on Hulu, because I don't have cable, I just use YouTube and Hulu and Disney Plus and stuff, ESPN, the ESPN. Yeah, when I got it all set up, I was ready. I got to the News Nation channel and everything, and then when I went to click on it, then it gave me a thing saying I had to pay $69.99 a month. And so I just figured I will just watch it on the replay if they have it either tonight on the Twitter or News Nation YouTube. And if they don't, if they wait to put it up until later tonight, then I'll go ahead and get into it tomorrow. But I apologize. I had it all set up before I even went live today. I was like, cool, I get to watch it on Hulu. I have Hulu. But I guess it's not the package of Hulu that you're supposed to have. And $69.99 is a lot of freaking money for one package. If I'm going to pay that much, I might as well just get cable from Spectrum.
House. And of course, one wonders with FedEx, what is the background check like?
Well, I
And if he
apologize
did
about
not
that.
have a criminal history, how can we still screen and catch deviant behavior before tragedy happens?
And you're so right. He absolutely had a reason to be in that neighborhood. If I saw a FedEx truck in my neighborhood, it certainly wouldn't raise alarms to me. So a common background check that he would
Especially
have
at any
had,
time at
in
night.
this case, and I went on FedEx
You know, hell, there's FedEx up until what, 9 o'clock?
history, a credit check, vehicle history, just very
And I don't know about that ATS. I don't know too much about the mom or the parents for that matter. I'm not sure. I mean, I had full custody of mine, so I'm not sure, you know, what the mother was involved in.
We don't search people's internet history. We don't search their behaviors. We don't follow them to see if they have behaviors that wouldn't pop up in these background checks.
And Tracy, I appreciate you sharing that with our viewers. I know you disclosed it to me before, and I'm sorry again for that experience and for what your daughter went through. I do want to ask if he did not have a criminal history, and it is so difficult to catch deviant behavior like this. With a profile like this, are there any patterns or deviant behavior that one would expect to find? And what can we do to try to screen this better in the future?
Yeah, I heard she was living out of state too. But I mean, it takes, there's, you know, you can't just get full custody from a mom, you know. It took me 3 years. And the mom was involved in a lot of different crap, and it took 3 years. But I was able to, when she turned 12. She was out of state. Why commit that crime? Just turn yourself in. Well, I think. Oh, they had a really long driveway. Yeah, I don't know. I guess we could look up the property. That would be interesting because it is just weird. Here, I'm thinking it was just like a 5-foot sidewalk or something. I'm not even thinking it could be a long driveway. That's a good point, Song C. And Cherry, I think the LE actually narrowed it down to a FedEx driver and then questioned him, and that's when he confessed. If I'm wrong about that, please let me know, but I think that's how it took place. Oh, about the driveway? That's why I wish I had an assistant. Because sometimes there's like 30 seconds of something I don't even hear because I'm trying to get the next thing ready and all that stuff. Athena's mom is, just the scars of a live show. Athena's mom had full custody. She did. But was getting medical care. The girl was coming back to mom's. Oh, she was only supposed to be with her dad a semester. You just have to know how to work the court system. I exited twice by filing emergency protection orders. They take the kids. Yeah, I never went that route, Jen K, but I do hear about that happening, which is kind of ridiculous because they can get it with like no proof whatsoever. I do have people that I personally know that have had that happen to them with no proof, and it is kind of ridiculous that they can do that. That's not the route that I went. Her mom was doing her own thing. Allison, she got abducted by her gate at the end of the driveway, so it was a long driveway, huh? Thank you for the information, everybody. I appreciate it.
It's a great question. It's part of why I decided to actually share my story tonight, because I think that as parents, a lot of that onus now falls upon us. And really all we can do, because it is so difficult that, you would have to get a warrant, right, to go on someone's personal computer and see what they're doing. FedEx would have to get a warrant to be able to do that. And they can't necessarily in this case because they wouldn't have had a reason to. But as parents, really that onus falls upon us to, I guess, in essence, question everything.
So this Shay girl, referring to this guy that we went into, was there never a report then? Because if they're talking about stuff he might have did on his personal computer or something, but there was nothing on a report from that Shay girl.
And trust nothing, and to always,
They have video evidence. Oh, really? I didn't know they had video evidence. What, from somebody's doorbell? She did, but there was no report, or it just didn't show up on a background? They have video evidence. No way. Somebody's door camera, right?
We can't
Wow.
always trust people that we think are
Thank
there
you,
to be
Allison.
trusted, like a FedEx driver, a teacher. And I think a lot of times we're lulled into that sense of complacency. And I think always having an antenna up at all times may seem stressful. But if you sort of get it into your normal behavior, it just becomes part of who you are.
I appreciate that. And that is a good bottom line coming out of this. Tracy Walder, certainly appreciate the perspective. Sad that this is the world we live in where that kind of constant vigilance is necessary, but appreciate it. Thank you again.
Thank you.
All right, let me check Brian Enton's Twitter real quick, see if anything popped up. It's doorbell cameras. Nice. At least they have video of it, so they knew. It's nasty. It took 7 months the first time to finally go to court. 7 months, wow. Oh, I'm sorry to hear about that, Chen. Yeah, Phantom. Cherry, good point. And thank you for the update, Allison, on how the whole doorbell cam. All right, let's see if there's any updates here. And I'm trying to get the next video ready too. So I don't miss 30 seconds of something. We're gonna do it like this. All right. Now I'm gonna go to I got the next one ready. All right. Let's see. Has he got anything on here 1 hour ago? No, just some getting ready. Okay. What about News Nation? Probably not. Yeah, that's where I went to. Join us. Let's see here. That's from Cuomo. Ooh, let's hear what he has to say then.
In homicide, 7 years. And the last one was nothing like this. So the notion that this place is dealing with this is very daunting. Now, however, though a small place, the idea that the police may be overwhelmed, that's why we don't know anything, that is a total misconception, okay? In addition to the entire local force, you have Idaho's state investigative authorities and the FBI. There are dozens and dozens of investigators, officers, and agents in the mix. Now, to me, what is remarkable is that you actually, it's not that you don't have a lot, it's that you really do have a lot of people, a lot of manpower working this, and yet nothing, at least nothing public. So that community has to go about its business, 25, 26,000 people, not a big place, without knowing if this was a targeted multiple murder, meaning a plan to attack these specific people, or if they have a real monster in their midst, a predator of random innocents among them. Now, there had been a suggestion early on that the victims, Madison Mogen, Kaylee Gonsalves, and Zana Kernodle, who were roommates in the home.
So Ellie ignored Shay that many times. She called to make reports. This is according to her own statements. They figured it out because they knew there was a FedEx delivery and they compared. Yeah. Yeah, I heard them say that they knew there was a delivery right at that exact location. Plus they had I mean, if you got the video of him actually doing it, Sent grandpa video to email. Thank you, Cherry. I'll get to that here in a second. And then Allison. Yeah.
Along with Kernodle's boyfriend, Ethan Chapin. The suggestion was they may have been targeted.
Oh, I can't wait for my mic.
I cannot be sure. To be fair, the authorities
so
have
ready
said
for my mic.
Many conflicting things. It was targeting. It wasn't. Maybe one person was targeted.
Thank you,
Maybe the
everybody,
resident
for your help
was
tonight.
targeted. Now, at this point, the consensus seems to be they don't know. All right. Is this bad policing? No. This is what can happen when you have multiple entities investigating the same case.
He's the only one I hear saying that it's not bad policing.
And at this point in the analysis, the oddest aspect of the case, from what is known, is the apparent timeline. Madison and Kaylee, both 21, were at a local bar downtown, stopping on the way home at a food truck, where there was the last video released of the events surrounding this crime. You remember this. There were concerns about who was around them. May they be suspects? There's no information or advance on that point. But we know from the food truck, those two wind up returning home at around 2 a.m. Coincidentally, Ethan and Zana, both 20, returned from a frat party to the home at about the same time, police say. Give or take 15, 20, 25 minutes. They don't have an exact time. There is no indication, however, though they got home apparently at the same time, that the four were together or coordinated their return. Now, there were two other roommates. This is a heavy layer of the mystery here. They were not attacked. They have not been identified by authorities. Police tell us that the other two roommates.
I'm glad they got video evidence,
home at
Allison.
around
Open,
1. So what does
open
that
and
tell
shut
us?
book, you
Police
know?
are right.
9
They would
minutes.
have been
for-
home.
Okay, Cherry,
before,
I'll get to that in
and
a
certainly
second. Thank you.
when the people who were murdered came home. So they were there first. There is no information about what happened.
So you won song C. I wonder if it was something drug related in the mail and someone came to find it. I'm not sure. I don't really know if drugs had much to, in my opinion, I don't really think that drugs had too much to do with it. I think, I don't know, I think the mail was three things: either an article from the scene, an apology from the person who did it, or a threat. And I'm leaning more towards a threat in the mail. You know, we did this, you know, I don't know. What do you guys think about the mail? Because Kaylee's dad said that they got mail. It pertains to the case. They signed a waiver to transfer it over to LE so they could investigate it, and it was a piece of mail. What do you guys think it was? And Allison, he was in a FedEx vehicle. Allison, some have video. Plus, they have to have trackers too, right? I mean, that's how they knew it was. But I mean, if you got doorbell camera, that FedEx truck don't mean nothing. You know what I mean? Them doorbell cameras, hell, they probably have more than just one, right? They probably have a couple different angles of how it all took place, I would think. A lot of people have doorbell cameras these days, and it does help.
Between when the two roommates who survived and the roommates who would be murdered came home, so right around 1, 2, and then the next timestamp is about 3 a.m. 3 a.m. is when police say that Kaylee's cell phone showed multiple phone calls to an ex-boyfriend. They say nothing else about that ex-boyfriend being relevant in any way, although I don't know how they could rule anybody out. The next timestamp from that 3 a.m. set of phone calls is now Sunday morning, November 13th. This began.
All right. That's pretty much everything we know already for that. So let me go back to his page. Let's see. Okay, there's nothing there. There's one more video that I'm gonna play here, and then we'll get to your link, Cherry. Give me 1 second here.
Marine, thanks for your time making it for the country. So in cases like this, the FBI, I would assume, has some people on the ground to assist at this point. What are they looking for in the killer, and what is the crime scene? What is their behavioral analysis unit, their profilers? What are they putting together on the scene to help local law enforcement?
Well, you hit on a number of things that they're doing, Dan. For example, the FBI is probably doing all the exploitation of the telephones and the devices that the girls and the male victim used. The behavioral science. And
tomorrow night, we're going to go over the dad's couple interviews again and kind of break them down a little more when we start off tomorrow night's show.
Scientists are looking very closely at the...
He's wearing FedEx uniform in a TikTok video. On a TikTok video. I was just saying there's no way to know what was on his truck. The doorbell cam shows the truck but doesn't show the girl. It doesn't matter because he can... Oh, they don't have him actually doing the kidnapping on camera? Just the fact that it is... I'm confused here. So do they have him on? I mean, yeah, he confessed, so it's already open and shut, but do they have him on the video actually, like, grabbing her, or just the video of his truck being there?
Incident indicators or the pre-offense behavior, and they're also looking at the post-offense behavior. And I think that would be a really important thing for all the people that want to help and want to do something to focus on. For example, if you ever drove down that street late at night and saw a car running right near the location, you and I would both know and probably key on the fact that there might be someone doing surveillance in that vehicle. That's something to think about. And if you saw anything like that, let the police know. They're also going to key in on some of the post-offense behavior, such as someone who is trying to act normal. Obviously, a big one is when someone leaves town, but that's of no use to the investigators at this point because half the town took off. Someone might also be trying to hide cuts or bruises or something, because when you go through a series of events such as this killer, you're probably going to get a little bit beat up.
Yeah. Maureen, there's a couple questions I get about this. People ask all the time. They say, Dan's former cop, former federal agent yourself. I did not work murder cases. I just want to be clear on that. But they say this seems like an angry, to kill someone with a knife in this disgusting, grotesque, tragic fashion is personal. I mean, not that it's better to kill someone, but you get the point. You're up close and personal.
That's what it sounds like, Allison.
This is an act of rage.
Thank God he did too.
And how to do that with 4 victims without one of them screaming and warning the others. Do you have any ideas on what could happen there?
Well, if they came home late and they were exhausted and they were, they had a couple of cocktails, they're going to be sleeping a little more deeply than average. This person may have, surveilled them even from that backyard, that wooded backyard that we saw, where you could see pretty much right into the 2 bedrooms of 2 of the victims, one being Maddie with the M in her window that I just found very haunting. If you went one by one, and the interesting thing though is they're talking about these people being stabbed. They're not talking about their throats being slashed, and I don't mean to be graphic, but
yeah, no, I get it. Yeah.
That would be the quickest way to stop anyone from screaming or fighting. But haven't you noticed that they keep saying that they were stabbed and not their throats?
Yeah, a sad, tragic point, but a valid one nonetheless. And sadly, the kind of things in our prior line of work, this kind of stuff we had to just deal with. Maureen, thanks a lot for your time. I really appreciate your expertise. Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity.
All right, we're going to go to the link that Cherry sent. Thank you for this.
Jonathan Lee Richardson.
I don't really want to play.
Retired FBI agent, forensic.
I thank you for that link, Cherry, but I'm going to go ahead and skip that one. Nothing personal. Let me see here. If you have a video of like from a news source or something, or a content creator that I tend to use, I might actually have something in my batch of videos that has something to do with that, but I do appreciate you taking the time to send that. Let's see, Song C, yeah, why this specific night plan right before break? I mean, it makes sense, right, Song C? I mean, right before, then all of a sudden you have a perfect alibi to disappear. Right. It wouldn't be suspicious. Plus you have time to, I mean, you have so much time with that break. Almost a week. Pretty much a week. It was almost like the perfect time for that person if they were going to do it and try and get away with it. I mean, geez. All right, let's go to another video here. Yeah, I do have this drone footage we can go into sometime for Delphi. Let me see if I have a grandpa interview in here. And I want to take a little break for a second. And I came across this channel. It doesn't have anything to do with true crime or anything like that, but let's see. Yeah, I'm not seeing nothing with the grandpa so far. I might have something back up there. But I came across this channel. If you like 90s grunge, alternative rock, Nirvana, Stone Temple Pilots, Alice in Chains and stuff, I came across this channel a few days ago, and this was the video that came up. This is one of my favorite songs from Nirvana, and I was like, Lounge Act was never on MTV Unplugged, because I noticed the title first, and I was like, Lounge Act was never on MTV Unplugged. Huh, let me hear this. And so I clicked on it, and this dude or lady or whoever actually takes like okay, Lake of Fire was a song from MTV Unplugged, but this dude took the lyrics from MTV Unplugged, mixed it with an electric version of Lake on Fire. I mean, what amazing. Like, it's just, I wish I could play it. I don't know if I'll get in trouble or not, but this song right here, like, it's one of my favorite songs from that album, and or from Nirvana period, and it really sounds like it's from MTV Unplugged. So if you guys are into that kind of music, definitely check out this channel. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the chat. And I'm just going to play a couple second clip of the song just to kind of give you an idea. And I hope I don't get in trouble, but seriously, this amazing work. I mean, Alice in Chains, they've only done a few, right? This is all they've done so far. This is a really, I mean, they didn't even do that Unplugged, and that sounds so nice. But yeah, these are all the songs so far, and they just came out with this one 22 hours ago, where it's got Nirvana with Scott Weiland, Something in the Way, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, I'm just gonna play a couple minute section of this just so you can kind of have an idea. And I'll skip ahead.
I can't let you smother me. Like to, but I couldn't work.
Now it's not going to transfer over this because it kind of gets all muffled when you have real music playing, but definitely check out this channel. And this is, what a great version. I'm like stuck on this. I've played it a few times already today. All right, so let me go back. Just wanted to take a little break there. Okay, I don't see nothing about the grandpa. If there's another video, please let me know. Let me see here, and we watch that. We're gonna go over these interviews again tomorrow at the beginning when these two dad interviews. We already watched something like that. Okay, we already covered that. Okay. All right, so those interviews are together. I kind of want to go over that one tomorrow too. This is Inside Edition, but it was 3 days ago. Let me see if we have something more updated. Let's see here. I don't know what that's about. It's a pretty long video too. I do like bed crime stories. I want to hear what she has to say. I don't know if we'll watch the whole 30 minutes though. I kind of like to keep them anywhere from 5 to 10.
Bed Crime Stories podcast. I'm your host, T. Hi, Bed Crimers. Thanks for being here. To anyone new, a warm welcome. Let me just ask that after watching the video, welcome to Bed Crime Stories podcast. Veil of Darkness was a winter's fog. The fog was, I hate to say it, the icing on the cake for whoever committed the crime, and an added layer of camouflage from prying eyes. The perpetrator clearly
Thanks, Phantom. Yeah, Kip Kitty, I'm not able to. I have to pay the $69.99 for the live TV because I don't have the right subscription on Hulu. So I have to wait until it's on replay, whether it's on Hulu, YouTube, or Twitter. One of those three.
We pick the hour between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. because
It is, Allison. It's almost like this was an addition at some point. Like this was the house at first, and then this was like an addition to it or something. It is shaped very odd. I just heard from a family friend, Maddie was partially, and Kaylee was stabbed directly in the heart. Ooh. Yeah, I did hear that one of them was partially decapped. Yeah, I heard that a couple weeks ago. It's just I didn't hear who, but I heard it was on the 3rd floor. Thank you for that information.
it was a time when most residents would be asleep. Even most college students who are notoriously night owls on the weekends were likely tucked warmly under their covers and snoozing. By that hour, the bars were closed, and most of the partiers in town were done with their drinking, vaping, bonging, and whatever else. We know the perpetrator didn't parachute into the rather densely populated quarter where Kaylee Gonsalves, Xana Kernodle, Maddie Mogan, and Ethan Chapin were staying that night in the house at 1122 King Road. So how did he manage to get there and leave from there, sight unseen? So far, no one that we, the public, know of anyway, has come out to say that they saw someone suspicious entering and leaving the home early Sunday morning. The leaving part is particularly interesting because we've heard it was a very messy crime scene. The perp had to have gotten some of that red mess on himself. So either he showered and changed within the home, or if he was eager to get out of there, he maybe fled to a place where no one saw him until he cleaned up. Of course, there is a possibility that someone did see him and they're just not talking out of loyalty or fear. Unfortunately, because Moscow is a small town, the type of place where people are lulled into thinking they're safe from crimes of this violent nature, many people, at least prior to this crime, left their doors unlocked and didn't bother to install Ring cameras or motion detector lights. It would appear, based on what YouTubers and reporters like Chris McDonough of The Interview Room and Brian Enton of News Nation, who traveled to Moscow and walked the streets near the girls' rental home and in the downtown area, that most of the buildings and homes were not equipped with security cameras. And although the police have asked for any surveillance footage that citizens and businesses in the area may have from Sunday, November 13th, between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. At least so far, it doesn't sound like any of the 4,000 plus pieces of video footage submitted have captured the perpetrator. I could be wrong. Maybe the investigators are still working their way through the footage.
It don't sound like it though, does it? And thank you guys for sending me or putting information in chat as well. I appreciate it.
The investigators have actually specified not only the period during which they believe the suspect committed the crime between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m., they've also shared a 3-hour window during which the perpetrator may have been on the move.
100, Allison, like, go remote. Like, what? But there's maybe some aren't able to. It's like that one student we watched of the interview earlier. I felt bad for him because you could tell he's stressed to the max. He's scared. He's always looking down. You know, he didn't know what to think. And he might be in a situation where he's not able to do it. He has to put his safety at risk because he wants to continue what he's built for his future. And it's like one of those, what's the lesser of two evils kind of decision. And it, to be in that position when it comes to either your safety or your future, I mean, You know, what do you do? To have those decisions in life are horrible.
And that is between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. This must be when the investigators believe the suspect left the home and when they feel he was perhaps traveling away from the crime scene and when he maybe was cleaning himself and his clothes from any red stuff that might have spattered on him. The investigators have also delineated an area within Moscow where they clearly believe the perpetrator was operating. The police are focusing on several areas of interest. One, West Taylor Avenue, which is the square's northern boundary, which you see in
Taylor Avenue. So basically the A&W restaurant. And then we know about the Sigma. So that's a different part of, because we were looking at the north end of it, but this is right there. What is there? We need to look around on Google tomorrow as well and kind of take a look around this area right here and see what's all around here. Does anybody know like the exact location of what they're interested in right here? Otherwise, we're gonna go take a little Google walk with Google Guy tomorrow and see what that's all about. Because look at that. The home's right here. And it's you're on the same street of Taylor Avenue. That's if Google Guy lets me. Because Google Guy wouldn't let me go around here. But I'm sure they'll let me go here. And Allison, I don't believe they'll do that because they need the revenue. Yeah. Because it's that little town, and you're also going to affect the economy in that little town that requires all of them, what, 26,000 people to spend money in their community? That's an interesting question too. Yeah, we'll go on some Google searches tomorrow with Google Guy tomorrow.
in this photo.
Taylor
West
Avenue.
Palouse River Drive, which is the square's southern boundary. And you
And
see
Pale
that in this
House.
map.
Pale House.
See the arrows? And to give you a better
Palouse.
perspective, I've put an arrow to where the Sigma Chi Fraternity House is located. 3. Highway 95 South, which is the square's eastern boundary.
Okay,
See
that's
the
where we
arrow.
were looking.
And the Arboretum and Botanicals photo. West Palouse River Drive, which is the square's southern boundary. And you see that in this map. See the arrows? And to give you a better perspective, I've put an arrow to where the Sigma Chi Fraternity House is located. 3. Highway 95 South, which is the square's eastern boundary. See the arrow.
Yeah, because we were there where we were looking up earlier with Valerie was right, I think it was right here. And that's where that corner club was at. But how much does it, I don't know how much it would cost to investigate these. That's a good question. Jen. Allison, Kaylee's dad pretty much said that in those interviews. That's why he's upset. There's a threat out there and there, yeah, for sure. And you know, it probably felt really good for him to say what the newscasters said to him, you know, at the end of that interview. You know, like, he's probably got a lot of people, especially Ellie, probably getting on him about doing it. And then he's hearing from people in the public, you know, you're doing a great job. Yeah, Allison, It makes sense now about the economy in there, and that's so sad. Yeah, he wants to do it, but they said no. They're just wanting to. I just don't. Yeah, that's right, because Banfield, that call, yeah, because Ashley Banfield was talking about that on a video a couple days ago. That's right. That's where the 911. Yeah, because Brian Enton was standing right in front of it when she was talking to him about it. She kept stressing Banfield because her last name is Banfield.
And the Arboretum and Botanical Garden, number 4.
The Botanical
which
Garden.
is the square's western boundary. See the arrow at the lower left side of the map?
So
I've also
they're looking at
placed
all
an
these
arrow
places?
on the Sigma Chi frat house to give you a greater perspective. If you want, feel free to stop the video and examine the map. And here's one where I've mapped out all 4 boundaries: north, south, east, west. Take a look. I know it's hard to drink it all in, but it is within the area in the middle of all these boundaries that the police want to pull surveillance video from. They must believe the perpetrator was traveling within this area, and detectives have been seen out canvassing this entire area.
We're going to have to look at that area tomorrow.
Tips. Now, if we look at the location of the house where the crime
Great
occurred,
video.
again,
Shoot, I need to put-
1122 King Road, we can see that there are several routes the perpetrator could have taken to and from that location. Note that it's also possible that the perp lived right next door, right across the street, or right behind the girl's house, and therefore simply walked to the house. And after the crime, ran off, snuck into his apartment, house, or room before anyone saw him, and then proceeded to clean off all the evidence of his evil deed, showering off the red stuff, washing or discarding the clothes and shoes he wore. I saw the cops looking out from the girl's house. And by the way, I'm calling them girls. I know I should be using women or young females, but I think by using girls, you know exactly who I'm talking about. So I saw the cops looking out from the girl's house, trying to see what the line of sight is from the girl's various bedroom windows. The police were spotted doing that from the front of the house, and I'm assuming they probably did the same thing in the back too. So that tells me they were trying to see which neighbors could have had views into the girl's windows, and which residents in the distance could have seen
Probably the
when
house
the
is
girls turned off the lights for
behind
the night.
this arrow.
And the perpetrator used binoculars or a
You can see right in.
long-lens telescope, like the guy in that Alfred Hitchcock movie Rear Window, to see into the home. It's also possible that the perp was taken to the home by one of the roommates. We know that Kaylee and Maddie arrived home together at 1:56 a.m. via what's been called a private car. No one has said anything about them arriving home with any additional people in tow. Supposedly, the car was driven by someone from a frat house who participated in some sort of ride program. The only thing we know about what happened after that 1:56 a.m. mark is that Kaylee dialed up her ex-boyfriend, Jack D, 7 times between 2:30 and 2:52 a.m. And Maddie's phone also dialed Jack 3 times. So it would appear that Kaylee and Maddie were still awake at least up until 2:52 a.m., which is nearly 3 a.m. We also learned that they passed away in the same bed. So were they both drunk dialing Jack D from bed, or was it just Kaylee and maybe she borrowed Maddie's phone thinking that Jack D might pick up if it wasn't her phone number? They were broken up at this point. It doesn't sound like Kaylee and Maddie brought any additional people home with them that night, unless that person followed them unbeknownst to them. I'm also wondering if the perpetrator could have forced Kaylee and Maddie into the one bedroom and the one bed. I would think that might be a possibility, but we've also been told that maybe Kaylee had already moved out some of her furnishings, so it's possible that maybe she had to share the bed with Maddie if she didn't want to sleep on the floor. We've also been told...
Yeah, because she came back just to show her vehicle, so I could see that none of her stuff was in her room anymore. And Jen, I'll get to that email. Let me see. We'll probably get to that right at the end of the show.
2 unharmed roommates who lived on the lowest level of...
We'll end up finishing watching this, and then I'll get to that link for the article. And then I also want to thank everybody for sending me all your emails. There are going to get some that I'll get to some tomorrow's show. Phantom, there's a couple. Kelt, there's 2 of them, and we'll get on to those on tomorrow night's show. I just wanted to let you know. So I appreciate all your guys' information that you share.
The 3-floor home each arrived home around 1 a.m. It also sounds like each one of them came home alone. The only reason I say this is because on Sunday morning, when the 2 finally woke up and left their bedrooms to head upstairs, they felt that something was off. Xana Kernodle's mother said that it was her understanding that the 2 roommates were trying to wake up one of their roommates who was still locked inside a bedroom. The surviving roommates then called some friends over to the house. If they'd had friends with them all night in their downstairs bedrooms, I'm assuming they probably wouldn't have felt the need to call additional friends to come over on Sunday around noon. So I'm assuming they each came home alone and went straight to bed, locking their doors because it sounds like they always lock their doors at night due to their rooms being on that lowest level near the front door. By process of elimination, I would say that if any additional people were brought to 1122 King Road early Sunday morning, it would have had to be Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernodle. I'm not saying that they definitely brought others with them. I don't know. I'm just saying that if any of the roommates did, I would think it would be them. So this is one way that a perpetrator could have arrived at and gotten into the home on King Road without breaking in. Do I think this is the most likely explanation? Not really, but it has to be considered and on the table. Ethan and Xana's timeline is the most mysterious of all the victims. We've only been told that they were seen at a party at the nearby Sigma Chi frat house at some point between 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. Although Ethan's 2 siblings, Hunter and Maisie, were also at that party, it sounds like no one seems to be sure how long Ethan and Xana stayed there, or when they left, and where they went afterward. The cops have said that the couple arrived home around 1:45 a.m. Xana's father said that he spoke to her around midnight on Saturday, so just as Saturday was turning into Sunday. He also said that Xana sounded fine at that point. Xana's mother said that Jeff Kernodle told her that he was under the impression that Xana and Ethan were at a bar when he spoke to Xana around midnight. So the question is, did Xana and Ethan arrive home alone? Or did they bring friends over for an after party at the house? I'm hoping the investigators know. So far, I haven't seen anyone come forward to say, hey, I was at the house that night. And truthfully, it doesn't seem like Ethan and Xana would have brought people over at that hour. I mean, from the little I've read about them, it doesn't seem like they were the types who'd want to continue partying beyond that 1:45 a.m. hour. I've always felt in my gut that they were probably snuggling in bed together after they arrived to 1122 King Road. But of course, I have no evidence to prove that. It's just where my mind went, and it's what I think young couples do after a party when they're spending the night together. Now, I also want to throw something else into the mix, and that is the Moscow Police Department responded to a call at 3:01 a.m. Sunday morning for what has been described as an alcohol offense. The location the police were sent to was a field called Band Field, as in musical band, off Taylor Road. That field is very close to the Sigma Chi fraternity house, where Ethan and Xana were seen between 8 and 9 p.m. It's also very close to 1122 King Road, where the crime occurred. It's actually a very short walk from the Sigma Chi fraternity house to 1122 King Road. There's even a walkway with stairs that offers a shortcut from the frat house to the girls' house. What occurred to me after hearing about this alcohol offense at 3:01 a.m. is that A, the police have told us the crime occurred between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. And B, the police were on scene at the band field near Taylor Road at 3:01 a.m. dealing with that alcohol offense. Did the suspect hear sirens while he was about to commit the crime? Did the police even use sirens? Here's a very out there thought, likely not true, but a possibility. Was the alcohol offense committed as a way to divert the police's attention over to that field? Keep all eyes fixed on the field and not over at 1122 King Road. Probably not, but it crossed my mind, so I thought I'd share it. In any event, if the suspect caught sight of the cops' flashing lights over on that nearby field, you'd think he would have gotten cold feet and abandoned the attack. I would think so. So I'm guessing that the suspect didn't know what was going on over on that field so close to the young women's rental home. So how else could the suspect have arrived at and fled from the young women's rental home? Well, he could have driven a car there. The advantage of a vehicle would be that it offered warmth against the cold temps that were outside, and it offered a way to travel somewhat incognito. Being inside a car is likely better than walking on a road, right? Especially if you're covered in red stuff. But the home on King Road is a cul-de-sac, basically a dead end. There's only one road in and one road out. Driving a car could be tricky because the vehicle could be spotted on any surveillance cameras along the route. And if your license plate is seen, well, I would think you would be busted if they capture that number and run it through the system. But the Chris McDonoughs and Brian Entons, who've been boots on the ground there and who've walked around the town and the neighborhood, haven't seen many cameras. If the suspect took a car close to the house, a good place to park would be in the parking lot that parallels the house on King Road. That's the parking lot used by the large apartment complex to the right of the girl's home if you're looking out from the front door of the home. That parking lot was dark because there were no security cameras and no motion detectors on the building at the time.
Yeah, they said that neighbors said that it gets so dark there that most neighbors, when they're out walking their dogs and stuff, will wear headlamps because it's so dark.
Also, there are no windows on that side of the apartment complex. The perpetrator could have parked there and then slithered down into the backyard of the student's rental home. The girl's house didn't have any motion detectors either, none in the front and none in the back. And although there were small outdoor lights on the facade, if the ladies living there didn't turn them on and leave them on, it would have been pitch black in their backyard at the time. The home's sliding glass doors in the back, which lead to the kitchen, seem to be what most online sleuths believe the suspect used to get into the home, especially if that door or doors were unlocked. A suspect coming into the home from the back, where there's a tree line and really no neighbors or neighbors' windows looking straight down into the yard, seems like the route that would be least likely to be seen by anyone. A car would also offer the quickest way for the suspect to hide himself right after committing the crime. We've heard that there was a lot of red stuff inside the house and that each student had multiple wounds to the chest and upper torso. That spells a very messy crime scene, and one that likely left the suspect covered in red. He'd either want to shower and change clothes inside the house where the crime occurred, but that would pose a greater risk of leaving biological evidence and hair.
Well, this is a good video. I'm gonna finish up this one tomorrow as well, because she does get into some more stuff. There's been a couple new News Nation videos that have come out while we're watching this, and so I have a feeling this is part of that special. We're gonna get into a couple of these, and then I'm gonna go ahead and end it for the evening, and then we'll probably go over these. I'm sure this is the beginning of that special, so we'll go over these in the beginning of tomorrow night's show, and then whatever else they have for us. So I'll be checking my subscription list definitely before, so we'll have them all in order there. I'm going to go ahead and click on this one. This is going to be interesting. Inside the, that's what he said last night, Brian Enton. He's going to show inside the crime lab, so I'm going to go ahead and click on this real quick.
We have been outside this crime scene for a week now, and there are a lot of questions about the evidence inside and what actually happens to it. And just last night, we were standing in the spot. We're pretty much here all the time for the most part. We saw detectives walking out with brown bags in their hands, but we still don't know exactly what was inside. It was an interesting development, though. There were some very, very large bags, and it seemed like they went in to gather some kind of evidence and then came out about an hour later. Idaho State Police Forensic Services, they're pouring over what has been taken from this scene. They've been in the home multiple times. News Nation got an exclusive look at the state crime lab. Alex Capriello joins me live now. Alex, you know, there's so much frustration among the community. So many people are wanting answers quickly because, you know, you see the TV shows. They think that they can get these results fast, but it seems like it really does take quite a bit of time.
Right, it does. That's exactly what we learned from the Idaho State Crime Lab. The fact of the matter is that this is an incredibly complex crime scene, and obviously with the killer still on the loose, every bit of evidence is crucial to try to crack this case open.
The knife, the incredible amount of blood, and the complexity of a bustling home with plenty of visitors. The forensics team is on a case like few others.
It's so very complex. We're not talking about a person that just randomly walks up on the street and stabs somebody and walks away. We're talking about 4 individuals here.
Forensics professor and Body Bags podcast host Joseph Scott Morgan also taking note of how the murderer slipped into the home on Moscow's Kings Road. No broken windows, no broken doors.
And for the investigators, that's a big piece of information. It goes from, if you're looking at a potential suspect, what level of familiarity did they have with this environment? Did they feel comfortable in it? Did they know their way around? Would they say, you know what?
Good evening, Jen. What do you mean, do the beginning? New information was the first. These are just clips. I wasn't able to play the live one. And I'm just playing a couple clips here before I end the show. Thank you for joining me. They might have, for tomorrow night's show, I'm sure I'll have the whole one, but if not, I'm sure they'll have it all split up in clips like this. This is just the first one that they came out with. They came out with this one. Let me see, this one right here, significantly more brutal. We did hear the dad say that. It's sad. Then we got this one. And then we got this one. But I was pretty interested in seeing inside this crime lab. But I just have a couple more minutes. But we'll be back on tomorrow night and we'll be able to play them all.
Maybe I can go in the bottom. Keep the stairs. familiarity did they have with this environment? Did they feel comfortable in it? Did they look around? Would they say, you know what, maybe I don't want to go in the bottom? Keep in mind, the two people that live downstairs, they didn't die.
And also in this case, a complex stew of DNA from the roommates and, as a Hopping College house, many guests.
It'll spin, it'll inject the blank, it'll spin back.
News Nation getting an exclusive look inside the Idaho State Crime Lab outside Boise.
This is the DNA casework lab.
Ready for the complexity of this case and others. The lab demonstrating for News Nation how elimination fingerprinting works for cases with a crowded home or in a car with passengers.
You can see that's a really nice print that you left on the glass.
But Idaho's Director of Forensic Services reminds the public speedy and slick TV evidence processing is not the real deal.
We call it the CSI effect. Some people think, well, we should be able to do this.
Yeah, you can't do it in 30 minutes or less.
For that yet.
Time certainly moving slowly back in Moscow with the decision to tow the victim's car weeks after the murder.
3 weeks, so that's a long time.
I hope that it would be at the Idaho State Crime Lab, because at crime labs, they have actual evidence processing garages. At that scene, what did they have?
I like
they
this
had
guy.
a piece of yellow tape going around that was providing security.
One solid tip, bolstered by the careful processing of a single clue left behind. The best hope to find justice for 4 young lives.
Just fascinating to see inside that crime lab, the work that they do behind the scenes. Explain to us why this in particular is such a complicated scene.
Right. Well, I kind of briefly mentioned it in the story, but when you think about it, I mean, just look at it. It's a rather large house, first and foremost. 3 stories to it. That's a whole lot of evidence for investigators to comb through. And then not to mention just the proximity to where it is on the college campus, frat row, obviously. Some of the fraternities and sororities are just about 200 yards away. We're told that this was a place where people partied, people socialized. And so that's a whole lot of people that are coming in and out of this home, which could really muck up and blur some of those lines and that evidence in there.
And I know police are remaining tight-lipped for the most part, but do we have a time frame when more of this evidence could come back, the testing?
Well, this is the benefit of actually being able to go to the Idaho State Crime Lab, right? We were able to ask them that, and they told us that they've already processed some of this evidence and they've gotten it back into the hands of the detectives. So right now, information is coming in and they are processing new information, but obviously this could take weeks as, like I mentioned, a lot of evidence to come.
Right. Thanks so much, Alex. Yeah, it's just fascinating to see inside that crime lab. It's not often that you get to see inside a crime lab like that. So we've still got more to come. Alex mentioned it, still evidence being taken out of the house. You saw the brown paper bags. We got that video yesterday. This is all so active. More coming up after this break, live from Moscow, Idaho.
Thank you for watching.
Good evening, I'm Brian Enton, live in Moscow, Idaho, with News Nation special report. 3 weeks ago, the unthinkable happened in this house behind me. 4 university students brutally murdered here. Their killer not only is still on the run, but still all of this remains a mystery 3 weeks later. And we have breaking news tonight. New details that we have just confirmed. News Nation is learning that Kaylee Goncalves' injuries were significantly more brutal than her best friend Maddie's injuries, which may end up being a very, very important piece of evidence when it comes to determining who the target was in this attack. I have learned Kaylee
And I want to thank everybody in chat earlier that was watching the News Nation special, that was putting this information in chat for everybody and all of us in the show to know. I appreciate you guys doing that. Thank you so much.
and Maddie were in an upstairs room in the house. So the killer had to go specifically upstairs to get to them. And again, that new information just confirmed that Kaylee's injuries were, quote, significantly more brutal.
Thank you for watching. Go to News Nation now.
Yeah, thank you guys for that. All right, like I said, we're going to go ahead and go through the parents' interviews again tomorrow, the ones we watched already. We're going to break those down. We're going to go over all these News Nation special from tonight. So we'll be doing that in the beginning of tomorrow night's show as well. And then, you know, how whatever other case updates we have, we're going to go ahead and go through those. There's a bunch of videos and a bunch of links I wasn't able to get to tonight. So we'll be go ahead and starting off with those tomorrow as well. And I just want to thank everybody for their cooperation, their chat, their conversation, and their participation in this brain stew that we have. I hope everybody stays warm, has a peaceful and positive evening. And I just want to thank you all so much for hanging out with me and everybody here in chat. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys tomorrow.